Phoenix Knights. Chapter 203 Borrowing Power. Chapter 203 Borrowing Power. Shuafan, you rotten punk, today I will bury you! Wailing like a banshee, Yuan Shan glared at Shuafan with bloodshot eyes. Yen Bagong and Lin Ruffeng were also releasing their bloodthirst. Long Yifei and Xie Xiaofeng held their guard up. Since Shuafan was safe, of course they'd to jump to his rescue. The same thought ran through Chu Bijuan's mind as well. For Drifting Flowers Edifice's benefit, Shuafan had to come out unharmed. It all became a standoff in an instant, as 6 house lords surrounded Shuafan as they were on guard regarding each other's reaction, each out of their own selfish desire. Meanwhile, Shuafan was peachy, taking but a light jump backward and through the city gates. He then pointed at Yuan Shan in taunt. You old farts, come and get me if you have the guts. You won't get to touch a single hair of mine regardless of where we'd been. That goes especially here, in my domain. Well, any takers? Shuafan! Yuan Shan had long lost his patience with Shuafan's taunts, roaring as he charged after him with the others with so many profound heaven experts burning to eat his heart out. Even Shuafan felt somewhat overwhelmed. Chu Bijuan's group rushed to block them, but Yuan Shan's team were long since prepared. Rainbow Cloud Palm! Yen Bagong was the furthest behind, turning around and spreading his arms. The 7-colored mists flew at Chu Bijuan and others, making them stop and withdraw in panic. Split up! Ha ha ha, quite clever! Yen Bagong laughed with pride. But seeing the rest of Yuan Shan's group going after Shuafan, the anxiety ramped up in Chu Bijuan. Regardless how outstanding Shuafan was, or how many profound heaven experts he got under his belt, none of them believed it to be from a head-on fight, but earned through cunning and subterfuge. This time, Yuan Shan's team was all going after him in this desperate situation. Even with Shuafan's godly skills, his chance at life would be slim at best. Yet, for some odd reason, Shuafan's was as relaxed as ever, even having time to throw them his trademark evil grin. This sounded off an alarm in the enraged mind of Yuan Shan. As to why, he couldn't quite put his finger on it. Whoosh! Suddenly, with a booming sound, a bluish light landed smack in the center of Wingay City's gates. Yuan Shan's team was in mid-flight when a wave of bluish power erupted from the light, and sending them barreling. When they recovered, they looked upon a 10-foot-long bluish crescent blade, having 7-foot-long hilt engraved with a blue dragon, and a 3-foot-long blade shooting blinding red rays. It spoke of its thirst of tasting the blood of everyone it touched, and on the blade was a shimmering silver dragon image. Yuan Shan's team cried in fear. 6th grade spiritual weapon, dragon-slaying crescent blade! Ha ha ha, Yuan Shan, I didn't think you'd recognize my trusted battle companion! An aged voice boomed, followed by Duguzhantian floating next to the crescent blade, picking it up as if it was nothing. The blades started ringing out dragonic roars. The 4 tigers of Tianyu brought Luo Yuhai to Shuafan. They were glaring at Yuan Shan's team, releasing their imposing auras all the while scalp numb. Yuan Shan never considered this scenario. For Tianyu's great marshal, god of war Duguzhantian, to descend upon Wingay City, a backwater town. Chu Bijuan's group were slack-jawed from the sudden turn of events. Marshal, this is between us and the punk. I hope you won't meddle! Yuan Shan's brow trembled, his mood sinking dangerously low. Making a half-swing with the blade, Duguzhantian roared. Ha ha ha, that's rich! The Emperor ordered me to defend Wingay City, and you're implying your casual words carry more weight than His Majesty's. Humph, Yuan Shan, the 7 houses' prestige must have gotten to your head and forgot your place. What, the Emperor's edict? Yuan Shan shuddered, his face white as paper. The hearts of the other house leaders hit rock bottom. The whole purpose of Wingay's city operation was to test the imperial family's bottom line. If the Luo clan fell to ruins and the imperial family gave a cold shoulder, then they'd ramp up their already obnoxious arrogance to swallow whole every other houses while completely disregarding the imperial family. But now they met face to face with god of war Duguzhantian of the frontier. This was Emperor's warning to the 7 houses, to stay in line this time. They really went and groped a tiger's butt. Yuan Shan sighed, filled with grievances. He didn't want to grope anything, but the Regent Estate made him. Now that the tiger left the mountain, Regent Estate would shirk off the blame, falling in the background, while letting them take the fall. The emperor would then make a harsh example of these three houses. The three house leaders looked at each other's eyes, ready to explode in tears. Chu Bijuan's group was elated at their misery. For the first time in a century, the imperial family stood their ground. This should curb Regent Estate's arrogance in the future at the very least. It would greatly delay their plan to swallow the seven houses. Grumbling, Yuan Shan cupped his hands. Marshal, knowing that you stand guard at Wingay's city, I shall not cross into it. However, Zhuofan killed many of our elders and even crippled my fifth elder's arm. I ask that you hand him over for us to handle. This great favor will one day be repaid by our three houses. Since going in Wingay's city was out, ripping Zhuofan apart wasn't that bad of a trade-off. Frowning, Dugu Zhantian turned his incredulous eyes to Zhuofan, as if seeing him for the first time. Is what he said true? The four tigers of Tianyu were also looking at him in amazement. At first they were impressed such a youth could hold the position of steward in a clan. It was a rare occurrence indeed, but who'd ever stop to think that this kid was so incredible, so outrageous, that he would kill so many of seven houses' elders, perhaps telling them now that Zhuofan didn't just stop at killing elders and went a step further in slaughtering Regent Estate's second young master, might perhaps cause their brains to stop working. Well, Zhuofan was caught in the middle. So he chose another path, that of pulling Luo Yihai forward and cursing at Yuan Shan. What are you droning on about? Do you know how close we are with Marshal Dugu? How dare you have such gall as to ask Marshal Dugu to hand me over? That is outrageous. All were too dumbstruck to even reply. Dugu Zhantian had lived his life by the blade, fighting day in day out on the border. You have no relation to him, zero. So how damn close could you possibly be? Then came Zhuofan's laughter in response to their thought. He patted Luo Yinhai's shoulder. Humph, bunch of ignorant fools is what you are. Our young master is Luo Yinhai, Marshal Dugu's fifth godson. Say what? The dull and shocked stares creaked towards Dugu Zhantian. The grand and mighty god of war, second of four pillars, Dugu Zhantian, just up and took a third-rate clan's young master? Could this relation get any more inappropriate than this? Despite being done in a not-so-honorable way and barely a month old, Dugu Zhantian was forced to nod. What a shocker. For Luo clan to hug such a big tree was like a pheasant turning into a phoenix. Regarding fame, Luo Yihai would be no less than at the level of the seven houses' geniuses. Kid, don't push it! Knowing where Zhuofan was going, Dugu Zhantian gave the brat a warning. Zhuofan chuckled in response, borrowing the man's power to lay it down even thicker. Yuan Shan, you got any idea who I am? I'm the great Luo clan's steward, the trusted aide of young miss and young master. Asking for Marshal to hand me over is the same as asking for my young master, the same to having Marshal hand over one of his four generals. Now you tell me, will Marshal ever agree to that? Will young master? Will our million-strong Dugu army? That had the expected effect of driving fear into their very bones. Just how did a simple matter got a million warriors in the mix? How? This guy would stoop to anything. Furthermore, you even dare ask Marshal to hand me over? Humph, how then are your houses going to answer for the slaughtering you did in the Luo clan not a few days ago? Zhuofan held his chest with pain in his voice. He cried, and he sniffed. Oh, my poor 100,000 unfortunate souls of my clan, how could you maniacs have robbed them from us? Yuan Shan was holding back the blood threatening to come out. The Sun and Kai clans acted as his eyes and ears in Wingay's city, so he at least knew the basic facts about Luo clan. What 100,000 men? Your third-rate clan never had them. Stop talking rubbish. Not even the seven noble houses has that many people. The cheeks of everyone there started twitching and dark clouds loomed over their faces. Even Long Yifi, who was the most friendly with Zhuofan, scratched his head dazed. I get you're framing them, but can't you be a bit more realistic? Oh, but Zhuofan was just getting started, raining charges on the poor blokes. Outside of the vile and inhuman slaughter you've lowered yourselves to, your greatest crime is disobeying Tianyu's most brilliant, wisest, amazing, and sacred Holy Emperor. Our Holy Emperor had explicitly stated this area banned for the seven houses, but you dare come throwing it in chaos. This is no longer disobedience, but plain insurrection. Marshal Dugu, as the nation's most esteemed patriot, how could you ever allow such conduct to take place before your very eyes? You must strike at once, take their heads and make them pay their crimes. The Emperor would certainly not punish you for ridding the Empire of this foul beasts. Yeah, Godfather, I shall go bring the soldiers here to crush Hell Valley and protect the sanctity of our holy Emperor, your patriotic heart, the people's hope. Striking while the iron was hot, Luo Yuhai cupped his hands and asked Dugu Zhantian for permission to go fetch the million-head Dugu army. Dugu Zhantian felt like cursing right now. How did these two brats' topic ended with sicking the army on Hell Valley? This isn't a joke, but the start of civil war. Yuan Shan's team was dumbfounded. Their demand was perfectly reasonable, to settle their grudge with Shuafan. How did it degenerate to making Dugu Zhantian going after them, and even sending the million-strong army for their heads? Yuan Shan looked at the rest and saw that everyone was sweating buckets. If these kids spurred Dugu Zhantian long enough, those brats would really get to make him send the army to uproot the millennia-long foundation of Hell Valley. Damn. I had a good laugh though. It made me wonder, why on Novel Update, this novel is rated so low? Like 3.7? Are we even reading the same novel? Well, maybe they were reading the MTL version shared online, which means they don't even understand the humor though. What do you guys think? Chapter 204 The Dispossessed. Chapter 204 The Dispossessed. Marshal Dugu, you mustn't go believing these brats' nonsense and look at things from another perspective. Civil war, people dying left and right. I'm sure you want to avoid that from happening. Yuan Shan rushed to cup his hands to Dugu Zhantian and spoke anxiously. The others from his team watched tense for any change in Marshal's expression. If Dugu Zhantian was going to storm Hell Valley, then the next to follow would be their houses. The atmosphere suddenly took a heavy tone, making it hard to even breathe. Dugu Zhantian stroked his beard, and when Zhuafan saw him move his arm dismissively, he jumped in action. Humph, Valley Lord, you, the nerve on you, to dare command Marshal who to attack and who to hand over. You must already be taking those million soldiers as yours. Yuan Shan sent all his hatred in his glare at Zhuafan. He would have long since jumped Zhuafan and killed this thorn in his side by now if Dugu Zhantian wasn't there to help it. Funny enough, Dugu Zhantian's mind worked the same. He was clenching his fists, wishing he could beat some sense into this egotistical parvenu for using his army. Only Emperor's edict to protect Luo clan stopped him from chalking the life of this damn punk. My army is not Hell Valley's, and it's most certainly not yours. You damn steward, who do you think you are to represent my army when trying to show off? You even go as far as threaten the Grand Seven Noble Houses. Are you dying to start a civil war? Thank God for Zhuafan. Yuan Shan and Dugu Zhantian had no clue of the other's thoughts, or they'd be shaking on it while putting an end to the kids' play. Yuan Shan took deep breaths to push down the anger and bring out the calm. He chose to relinquish his house lord's demeanor, and cupped his hands, speaking in a difficult tone. Marshal Dugu, let us all just take a step back. Since you defend Wingay's city, we won't dare to intrude. As for Zhuafan, we don't want him. I am willing to do this for you and forget about today. What do you say? Valley Lord, that punk killed. Fifth Elder shouted, but Yuan Shan snapped. Quiet, can't you see Marshal Dugu is in charge here? Fifth Elder turned from Dugu Zhantian to the mocking Zhuafan and stormed away, outraged, understanding where Hell Valley was going and not wanting to see this spiral further out of control. Dugu Zhantian sighed with a nod. While all people there wanted love and peace, there was one who burned to see the two sides like oil and water, so he butted in just as Dugu Zhantian was about to conclude this affair with a laugh. Valley Lord, you must be dreaming if you think you're getting away that easy. Have you forgotten the 100,000 men you killed in my clan, those pitiful lost souls unable to find peace? Shut up! But Dugu Zhantian and Yuan Shan snapped at him in unison. Reeling, Zhuafan knew when to quit, so he quietly stood there, not making even a peep. Like an angel, his action made others feel mortified. This kid will stoop to any low, uncaring of appearances, a true parvenu. His talent is a damn waste as a steward. Dugu Zhantian stammered. He saw Shua turn from a biting dog into an adorable kitty, as if all that brash talk was not said, and was lost for words. In the end he cupped his hands. Yuan Shan, then we shall let this matter rest here. However, I do feel the need of reminding you, Valley Lord this empire is under you when ruling, not your backyard. I shall keep in mind Marshal's counsel. Farewell. Yuan Shan gave one last salute and left with the others. Yet just a few steps after, his eerie tone came. Marshal, on your way to Wingay's city, have you perhaps met some of my men? Dugu Zhantian was about to shake his head. Zhuofan's eyes sparkled like stars and grabbed hold of this golden ticket with a snicker and stepped up. Valley Lord Marshal's 4 generals are of immense valor. How could they waste time on nobodies? Ha ha ha, I urge you to get back and look after their families, and put a stop to your men's reckless behavior. Wingay's city isn't a place where you can come and go as you please. Yuan Shan spurted blood, his eyes bloodshot. Dugu Zhantian, you are truly vicious. I will remember this debt. He only wanted to ask Dugu Zhantian what happened to his men hiding in Wingay's city. But the marshal had came after the battle and had no clue what transpired. Zhuofan picked up on his intention and cooked up an ingenious reply to Dugu Zhantian. This line was vague. He thought it was only a warning to Yuan Shan to not make trouble when he had 4 strong godsons by his side. However, Yuan Shan's team heard of the implied meaning. The 4 generals' valor, of disregarding Hell Valley's men, were actually hinting at the fact that these 4 amazing godsons handled their men hiding in the city. But the next phrase really took the cake, pointing it out that Dugu Zhantian commanded the execution of all of them. The eyes of the 3 house leaders went bloodshot, their nails biting into their hands. Zhuofan predicted that the 3 men would pointedly shift their anger from Luo clan onto Dugu Zhantian. How could any of them ever forget a heavy loss of 3 elders and 3 venerables? Marshal, everything must be done within a limit. But you have grossly crossed it. Yuan Shan snorted and shot into the sky, leaving his last words of hatred behind. Dugu Zhantian, I pray we'll meet again soon. I doubt such a senile fool can be a god of war forever. Hey, did you see, Marshal? You just let them go, and all they give in return is spite. Zhuofan honked some more. Dugu Zhantian and his generals were lost, not having a clue of being turned into patsies by Zhuofan. How odd, why is there a sudden grudge between us? Dugu Zhantian frowned but couldn't make sense of it, and sighed with a shake of his head. There are no longer men with any integrity around. I knew that teaching them a lesson was better. Dugu roared. You're right, 3rd brother. How about you lead the army and I accompany you in flattening them? All right, that's enough. Yuhai, what did I tell you? Don't use my banner to show off and pick on the weak. Dugu Zhantian glared at Luo Yuhai, then cursed. Is the Dugu army that easy to mobilize? Luo Yuhai lowered his head, not daring to speak again. But that didn't stop Zhuofan's smile of respect. Marshal is wrong here. How can the 7 houses be considered weak when we are the ones being picked on? Dugu Zhantian was startled. He has a point. But then he reacted and glared. And you, Steward Zhuo, it almost settled before you started speaking, always mocking and inciting them. You, the dispossessed, the weak, just angered the strong until they coughed blood. This launched everyone in a fit of giggles, especially Iris and Peony overseers. They hid their smiles as they started recalling the fake Song Yu's acting in Drifting Flowers City. Zhuofan shrugged and kept his thoughts to himself, lest he became the target of the OL Marshal's anger. Sighing, Dugu Zhantian calmed the rage in his heart, then cupped his hands to Chu Bijuan's group. I know that you are different than them, coming to resolve the situation and not make it bigger. But I am under imperial order, and I can't let you in Wingay's city. We understand. Chu Bijuan returned the gesture. Dugu Zhantian nodded and went to his generals. Return to camp. Hold on, Marshal. There are matters young master needs to tend in the Luo clan. Can he? Dugu Zhantian nodded to Zhuofan. All right, the kid got me in a foul mood, so I will hand him to you for today. Humph, I don't want to see him right now. Then he vanished. Luo Yunhai's face sank. Big brother, does Godfather hates me? Ha ha ha, relax, 5th brother, Marshal is only putting a tough front, but he's a softy inside. He just favors you too much to stay angry for long. Once his anger passes, it'll be fine. Dugalin smiled in midair. Luo Yihai relaxed. He had been robbed of his father early in his life and started to consider Marshall a father figure after spending so much time with him. Ruffling his hair, Zhuofan drew him to Long Yifi, Chu Bijuan and the rest. Ha 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 people, long time no see. You've come to help us? You can rest easy now, since everything is fine. With little brother Zhua taking charge, the Luo clan will be forever safe. Ha ha ha. Long Jiao said, then introduced. Brother, let me present to you our pavilion lord, Long Yifi. And here is Sword Marquis Abode's abode lord. Zhuofan had Luo Yihai pay respects alongside him as Long Jiao introduced. When it was Chu Bijuan's turn, Chu Bijuan nodded before Zhuofan could bow. Qingqing was right about you, Steward Zhua. A man mighty in pen and sword is worthy of being Drifting Flowers Edifice's son-in-law. Ugh! Zhuofan shook his head bitterly, seeing the odd looks in everyone's eyes. Chapter 205, Friend from Afar. Chapter 205, Friend from Afar. Grandmother, you can't be speaking so casually, some people might misunderstand. Squinting, Zhuofan's tone dropped. My trip to Drifting Flowers City was all for the Bodhi Jade sap. It had nothing to do with Chu Qingqing. Please refrain from speaking such falsities in the future. Chu Qingqing was startled. Drifting Flowers Edifice isn't some scourge, so why do you insist on keeping your distance? And what's not to like about Chu Qingqing? She is a worldly beauty that has countless men treating her like a goddess. Long Yifi and the rest were also puzzled. You just got a hot wife thrown in your lap, so why on earth are you stepping aside? You aren't fed poison anyway, so what's with that huge reaction? Peony Overseer's temper flared, cursing him. Zhuofan, Qingqing's love is wasted on you. How can you be such a disappointment? Humph, disappointment you say? Zhuofan stuck out his chest and bellowed. I was the one who saved all of Drifting Flowers Edifice, this old crone included. I owe you jack squat. Peony Overseer was now shaking out of rage. His words were right, and she had nothing to say despite wanting to. Chu Bijuan's face twitched. She had had her fair share of travels in her youth, but never once met someone so brazen to curse her in her face. Especially not by a young pup. The Lady of Steel wasn't one to take that tone lying down, even if they were from the 7 houses. Letting a snot-nosed brat off without teaching him a lesson would let others believe the Drifting Flowers Edifice was a pushover, but Zhuofan was different. Since she woke up, all she heard were endless dreaded rumors about this legendary youth. And today she saw him playing Hell Valley and Dugujantian like a fiddle into jumping at each other's throat. Getting on the bad side of such a sly and vicious fellow would end in disaster. The wise Chu Bijuan knew who was easier to push around and save her prestige, and who was better left alone and bear the brunt instead. It was crystal clear in what category Zhuofan fell into. Her only choice was to bear it. Though she was quite curious to know what nerve did this topic struck to irk him into flaring up at any who mentioned it. Humph, heartless rat! All the Peony Overseer could do was curse him. Zhuofan ignored her all the same. Long Yifi let out a wry chuckle, trying to mediate the situation. We're all on the same side. Must we get angry over something so minor? We need to focus on the task at hand and remove the danger our 4 houses face. Pavilion Lord Long is right. Please forgive my rude remarks, Steward Zhua. Chu Bijuan smiled. Zhuofan glanced at her and secretly nodded. No wonder people started calling her Lady of Steel. She was quite amenable. The issue had nothing to do with her, but for Drifting Flowers Edifice's sake, she was willing to take one for the team in being first to extend an olive branch. Zhuofan wasn't unreasonable either, bowing. Please forgive my rash behavior as well. Chu Bijuan nodded, with a smile of praise. Although Peony Overseer was still too pissed to look him in the eye. Seeing everyone here today, I can only assume you have agreed to join hands. Zhuofan suddenly took a somber tone. That would imply us 4 houses' objectives have aligned. Or more aptly put, we have been pushed into a corner and forced to ally. Precisely. Chu Bijuan picked up where he left. Pavilion Lord Long with Abode Lord Siat and myself have participated in the 7 houses gathering at Regent Estate. As Steward Zhua had suspected, they wished to rule over all the houses, with Hell Valley and the others already standing on Regent Estate's side. Oh, 7 houses gathering, you say? Do tell me the details. Xuefan's eyes glimmered. Chu Bijuan started recalling the meeting in minute details. Whatever she had missed were supplied by Long Yifi and Xie Xiaofeng. Having understood what transpired, Xuefan paced around with a frown. I was wondering why Regent Estate didn't come to Wingate City. I see it now. Estate Lord sure is a man of character. Humph, what character? Big bourgeois, sending Hell Valley and the rest instead paints him for the coward he truly is. Luo Yuhai mocked. Xuefan laughed. Rotten brat, guess I have to teach you a harsh lesson, lest you encounter an expert from which you'd suffer dearly. As the saying goes, the cruelest are the regents. I killed one of his sons, yet he did not fly into rage, only sending experts to kill me in Wingate City. In this manner, he is rather calm. He did not seek revenge but planned to test the imperial family's limit. It is clear this man's ambition is great. This is how a man should act when he wants to look at things from perspective. Kid, you will become Luo clan head one day. I won't say anything about being strong or having a cunning mind, but one thing you must never forget, to give no quarter. Xuefan snickered and patted Luo Yunhai's head. They all felt ashamed. Did anyone guide their young master in such a way in this empire? But one thing was certain, Xuefan's logic made complete sense. In this cruel and harsh world, things like compassion would only drag one down. Chu Bijuan took a long look at Xuefan, and nodded. More to herself, Xuefan pondered for a bit before saying, Currently, the imperial family has shown their stance, so we should be safe for now. While the Luo clan, having Marshal Dugu on our back, is in an even safer position, ha ha ha. Xuefan cackled to the speechless audience who thought, just what rotten luck did this guy stumble upon to get Dugu Zhantian's support? Brother Xue, when did you get so close to Dugu Zhantian? I've been in Wingate City for years and never heard of this. Long Zhou's curiosity got the better of him. How should I put this? Xuefan jutted his chin, while Luo Yunhai's face beamed with pride. He was quite frankly the second coming of Xuefan in this world. The others' faces twitched. He's posing again. And there's 2 of them now. Ha ha ha, we only met Marshal half a month ago. Getting so close in such a short time is evidence in and of itself that nothing is impossible for me. Xuefan snickered. Luo Yuhai added with a creepy laughter. That is because I am of unmatched talent. It was only a matter of time for one such as I to find myself as Godfather's disciple, ha ha ha. The others felt dark clouds looming overhead. Xuefan is a bad influence. Be that as it may, the grand god of war had nonetheless joined their fold in but half a month. This was unprecedented. Chu Bijuan felt the brunt of the news the most. She had ties with every great clan out there, but never had she succeeded in turning any of them into a strong friendship. Her impression of Xuefan went up a notch. No wonder he became a steward. He knows the ins and out of everything. He considers everything when making a choice. Perhaps not even unwanted contriver can match his meticulousness. For a third-rate clan to jump in the first-rate category through a single connection is unheard of. With Xuefan as steward, the Luo clan will most definitely rise above the 7 houses. A pity he is so set against marrying into Drifting Flower's edifice. Chu Bijuan lamented. Since Luo clan is so outstanding, then should we stop supporting the Luo clan? Having enough of Xuefan being a wise ass, Long Yifi decided to play a practical joke. Ugh. The snicker froze on Xuefan's face. He then spoke in all seriousness. To be completely honest, Luo clan is lacking in resources. What Veiled Dragon Pavilion provided us so far was just a drop in the bucket. In any case, we 4 are now allies. Will the other 2 houses be willing to lend a helping hand and get this third-rate clan to rise above? Haven't you taken a year's worth of income with the ingredients you took the last time you were in Drifting Flowers City? What more do you want? Peony Overseer glared. Xuefan smiled wryly, yet not denying. Those are just ingredients for alchemy. Besides, don't we deserve at least some thanks for saving your house? How can you call that support? You damn rogue! Peony Overseer huffed. Chu Bijuan chuckled. Ha ha ha, with all 4 of us in the same boat, the Luo clan will be our biggest ally. Helping you is helping us. Drifting Flowers edifice will henceforth settle the Luo clan's ingredient problem. Grandmother, you are wise beyond your age. Xue Fan gave a thumbs up. Xie Xiaofeng smoothened his beard. Sword Marquis' abode is specialized in tool refining and has many ores. Then we shall supply you with the items needed to make spiritual weapons and demonic treasures. Xue Fan's eyes shined and laughed inside. Luo clan had many guards, but no weapon or armor to fit them with. He had lately been thinking of who to rob and solve this little snag. Damn that Xie Tianyang. Did it hurt to not tell me this sooner? And you call yourself my brother? Xue Fan cursed. Long Yifi twirled his mustache and shrugged. I guess Veiled Dragon Pavilion will handle the rest? Oh please, who else is there? You're the best merchant in Tianyu. Xue Fan perked the corner of his mouth that sent everyone into a laughing fit. With this, they all began to see Luo clan as a dependable ally. They were yet unaware what the Luo clan would grow into, but with Dugu Zhantian shading them, it was worth investing in them. Luo Yuhai felt the clan would experience a golden age with how many resources were coming over and was laughing at the sky. It's good to have friends coming from afar, Iris Overseer praised. He is quite clever, knowing how to gauge a situation. While all smiled, Peony Overseer was snorting at Xue Fan. True, he is a clever little child and with proper manners too. Unlike someone else we know. She then said to Luo Yuhai. Tell me, do you know what that means? Of course. Big Bro Xue had made me study many books these few days to last a lifetime. Luo Yuhai laughed as he explained. The more brothers that come, the more I can exploit. A true joy dash. Ugh. Xue Fan covered his mouth before he could finish. The other looked at him with dark faces, boring holes into him. I am just a steward and not good at teaching. Xue Fan blinked his large eyes in embarrassment. The others' faces twitched. On the contrary, you're too highly qualified. One thing was certain, this young master was a lost cause, having been through Xue Fan's rotten hands. Chapter 206 Leadership. Chapter 206 Leadership. After ironing out a few more details regarding the alliance, Xue Fan and the rest parted ways, taking Luo Yuhai back to Blackwind Mountain. When he stepped through the gates, he shouted, Old Pang! Captain Pang just returned and was already rushing to Xue Fan. Brother Xue orders? Call everyone handling clan affairs over. Also, taking a long look at Luo Yuhai, he whispered something in Old Pang's ear. Old Pang nodded and went straight to it, leaving a clueless Luo Yuhai staring at Xue Fan. Shortly after, Luo Yunchang, Lei Yutian and the rest clan officials gathered in the meeting hall. Even Li Jingtian and Yen Song, who watched over the two of the 4 5th-grade arrays, were present. Xue Fan was in the seat of honor with one leg over the other and sipping tea. They were all baffled. Why would this guy call everyone over? Did something happen? Xue Fan's casual disposition clearly pointed to the opposite. Snickering, his eyes roamed over everyone present. I have summoned you all here today to bear witness to the official entitlement of the next clan head. It's been 2 years since the 3 clans have joined and Wingay's city ultimately coming under Luo clan's rule. We, the Luo clan, are destined to enter the 7 houses. Now that there's infighting amongst them, it presents us with the best chance to rise. But a snake cannot live without a head, and today we shall settle this matter. Aren't you the snake head? And now you want to make it official, going after a power play here? Lei Yuting rolled her eyes. In any clan, this line would have earned widespread shock, while in the Luo clan, only a chuckle. Even Luo Yuhai and Luo Yunchang found it funny. They had absolutely no worry Xue Fan would snatch the clan head position all for himself. After all, Xue Fan was the one who called the shots in Luo clan's affairs, and even brought 2 strong elders over. If he'd ever wanted the job, he'd have done it when the Luo clan was at its weakest, at its most vulnerable. Why the hell would he wait till now? As such, to the Luo siblings, everyone was a potential traitor to the clan, but never Xue Fan. Because everything he had been doing was all for them. Tapping his teacup, Xue Fan smiled. Ha ha ha, I don't fancy myself a clan head. I can't bear the thought of staying cooped up as one for my entire life. So I've asked for you to witness this kid's title as the next head be in effect. Zhua Fan turned to Luo Yihai, who was staring blankly at this point. Captain Peng brought 4 men into the hall, the 4 traders of Wingay City. Zhua Fan had made sure they were kept alive just so Luo Yihai would be the one to pass judgment. Kneel! Captain Peng barked and the 4 fell. I never liked any of you since the moment I saw you, but this time you only got yourself to blame. Kai Rong and the other 3 shivered with heads lowered from dread. Zhua Fan waved, and a steel essence great saber sank into the stone floor. The 4 flinched, so scared they almost peed themselves. Is Zhua Fan planning on executing us? Chuckling, Zhua Fan turned to Luo Yihai. Yihai, as a future clan head, it is your duty to punish these traitors. The others jerked. Now they realized what Zhua Fan was going for. He had Luo Yihai handle Luo clan's traitors and show his valor as clan head. But was he really going to make a child kill? They all felt restless and Luo Yihai couldn't stop shaking. He had always stuck to Zhua Fan, copying his demeanor, showing off all the same, but not once did he stop to think the day would come he'd soak his hands in blood. Not this soon at least. Zhua Fan, you're too much. He is but a child. How can you make him do such cruel things? Luo Yunchang rushed to hug her baby brother while looking at Zhua Fan with reproach. Captain Peng couldn't take it either, smiling wryly. Brother Zhua, is there a need for young master to handle these pests? Let me do it and spare young master for dirtying his hands. Quiet. Are you the next clan head? Kai Rong is a clan head himself, and only a clan head can settle him. Zhua Fan glared. Captain Peng jerked back and kept to himself. Everyone was clear what Zhua Fan was doing, to establish Luo Yunhai's authority in the clan and start him on the path of clan head. It was high time for everyone to no longer think of him as a helpless child. Li Jingtian and Yen Song slightly nodded. Zhua Fan may be somewhat obstinate, but his every action was for the good of the Luo clan. If Luo Yunhai, the nominal clan head, would have someone else solve all his problems, he would no longer need to even think, and would waste away. Zhua Fan was doing all this so the Luo clan would have a worthy successor. All understood how much thought Zhua Fan put into this. Luo Yunchang's heart was bleeding but steeled herself, pushing Luo Yihai towards Zhua Fan eyed him coldly, until the child swallowed dryly and sweated bullets. Big bro Zhua, don't joke around. I'm just a kid. Luo Yihai laughed dryly. But Zhua Fan's face was unchanging, pitiless. A child without a parent has long stopped being a child. If you don't do this, I promise that you will one day go through the massacre you went 2 years ago. At that time, you will regret not grabbing power. Shuddering, Luo Yihai was brought back to those cruel times of seeing his Luo clansmen murdered around him, the screaming, her sisters scrambling for their lives, and his eyes gradually hardened. Ding! Luo Yihai lifted the great saber from the floor with a ringing. Seeing him approaching, Kai Rong's group was scared witless. Yen Song's Yuan-Chi had the 4 rooted on the spot, unable to make use of their own cultivation. They were so powerless even a 3-year-old could take their lives. They watched Luo Yihai get poisoned by Zhua Fan's guile and were filled with dread. Yihai, listen to me. Don't you remember Uncle Kai taking care of you? Our clans are longtime friends. I even gave you shelter, Kai Rong pleaded, appealing to the child's innocence. Kai shouting bobbed his head. Yeah, don't you remember Big Brother bringing you so many toys when I visit your Luo clan? Don't do this to us. Yeah, and sister. Sun Yufei went with the flow, but no matter how much she racked her brains, nothing came out, only a mournful cry. Shit, sister never met you. I'm done for. Sun clan head sighed as tears streamed down his face. Never had he imagined their mighty clan in Wingay City would live to see the day when a snot-nosed brat would cut their line short. All the other around them looked on with derision. These bastards have no shame, no morals. They're willing to stoop to any low as long as it keeps them breathing. Yet, Luo Yihai was steadfast, bringing the blade behind them. The screeching echoing from the blade being dragged was their requiem, making their hearts shudder with its tempo. Ding! Finally behind them, Luo Yihai lifted the great saber way up. They heard the whoosh of the blade and the 4s felt a chill crawling down their spine. I'm dead. They knew Luo Yihai brushed off their words. They could already imagine their heads falling, closing their eyes and gnashing their teeth in preparation. Xue Fan watched everything coldly as Luo Yunchang turned her head away. The others were about to witness their clan head's first act of exacting punishment to traitors. Whoosh! A cold glimmer flashed and the four felt a chill, yet no pain at all, nor any blood was spilled. When they opened their eyes, they saw a strand of hair slowly floating from each of them. Luo Yunhai's childish voice sounded with a hint of power. Luo and Kai clans are friends. My ancestors taught us to be steadfast and righteous. You were never kind to us, but I cannot be cruel to you. I heard how the ancient people cut their hair instead and, with the power invested in me as the clan head, I have severed your threads. But henceforth, our clans shall be strangers. And the next time you bring harm to us, your heads will roll. As for the Sun clan, I spared them on account of Kai clan, as you are joined by marriage. So stop treating the Kai clan with such contempt. He was after all an elder of our Luo clan, and I hope not to see them in a bitter state after being driven away. The hall was still grave. All watched Luo Yunhai incredulously. None saw it coming, that a child was capable of such integrity. Speaking of justice and benevolence, it struck a chord even in Li Jingtian and Yen Song's hearts. His words may have been naive, but were spoken with resolve. But doing it like this was going against Steward's decision. The two hadn't been in the Luo clan for long, but it was obvious at a glance who was the real master here. They turned stiffly to Xue Fan to see him gloomy. It was unbearable for one to see the new lord he raised to disobey him in the end, especially if you were one with power. And this was Xue Fan, a man who was unruly, snatching power as he wished. This act was no different than having his power challenge Li Jingtian, and Yen Song looked at Luo Yunhai with a sigh. Even if you're the future emperor, as a kid, if you don't mind your tone and butt into the war between officials, you'll end up dead. Chapter 207 The Velvet Glove and the Iron Hand. Chapter 207 The Velvet Glove and the Iron Hand. Sensing Xue Fan's unnatural disposition, Luo Yunchang smiled widely as she cajoled. Xue Fan, Yunhai is still just a child. He can't be. A light flick of his hand cut her off. Xue Fan had his eyes fixed on Luo Yunhai, cold as ice. Kid, is this your final decision? Even a profound heaven expert would feel his knees soften and scalp going numb when Xue Fan stared at him like a viper. Luo Yunhai was still wet behind his ears, and the effect was even worse. Despite hesitating, Luo Yunhai's nod was firm. Big bro Xue can kill them if he wants. But I do not believe they should die by our hands. Humph, naive. Li Jingtian and Yen Song chuckled. Xue Fan squinted and turned to the traitors. His gaze sent shivers down their spines and made their hearts feel as if it would explode in their chests. In the end, Xue Fan had the final say. The only good thing about the wimp Luo Yunhai was his title as future clan head, emphasis on the future, but out of everyone's expectations, Xue Fan nodded a sigh. No choice then. I really wanted to waste them, but since clan head spoke, we shall do it as he decided. Elder Yen, release them. And Dash, come again? Yen Song was dumbfounded. Steward Xue, are you sure? Getting a nod, Yen Song removed their restrictions and the traitor found themselves free to move. They cautiously watched Xue Fan while gazing at Luo Yunhai baffled. They were in denial, never believing the ruthless Xue Fan would defer to a wimpy kid. Their hearts were in chaos, not knowing what to do. So they began kowtowing in thanks for having their lives spared, but no clue as to who to thank. They were still baffled. Should they be thanking Xue Fan or the kid? Now that clan head spared you, take a hike. But Elder Kai, I still feel the need to stress something. Xue Fan's eyes flashed as his tone dropped. You will never get the chance to use the Luo clan to rise. Shuddering, Kai Rong understood his hidden meaning. He sighed, taking his son and the other two through the door. Xue Fan's meaning was simple. The Luo clan was strong enough to fend off the 7 houses. The Kai clan also had a stake in this powerful clan, but, unfortunately, he was blinded by the 7 houses' exaggerated renown, and jumped aboard the wrong boat. The Luo clan's future was going to be one of constant development, and the 7 houses could no longer look down on them. But this no longer concerned this father and son pair. They brought this on themselves. Once the four were gone, all eyes were on Juefan, finding him unlike his usual self today. This was the very first time he relented the decision in favor of another to a kid no less. Luo Yihai was baffled as well. He recalled how every time he ever talked back when they were fleeing for their lives, Juefan would hit him good. Juefan, a servant, took advantage of his master's plight and vented. But this time, Big Brother Jue, you aren't yelling at me for going against your decision? Luo Yihai blinked. Juefan smiled. Kid, you are Luo clan head and I the steward. Any advice is just that, advice. It is up to you to follow it. There's no disobedience here at all. Moreover, I said you have to deal with them, not kill them outright. Letting go of a few ants would hardly matter. The others exclaimed in realization, while also admiring Juefan. Juefan may be cunning and deceitful, but he always held the benefit of the Luo clan above all else. He could have easily taken control of everything, but he instead worked tirelessly to raise Luo Yihai into handling the clan's affairs. This was a clear-cut sign he was willing to relinquish his power. What man in a powerful position would ever think of giving it all away? What the others didn't know was that Juefan prepped everything ever since the clan's misfortune. He didn't want a puppet but a truly strong clan. Otherwise, he would have been better off if he had made his own faction instead. Sigh, I am both assured and sad by your decision. Juefan shook his head and sighed. Luo Yihai asked curiously, Big Brother Jue, how can you be both? You may not realize, but I am assured since you gathered up the nerve to stand up to me. As for sadness, that is because you are walking a completely opposite path from mine. All my time teaching you had gone down the drain. Luo Yihai looked to her sister for an answer, but everyone was clueless as he was smiling wryly. Juefan elaborated. Every single ruler, be it a king, sect leader, or a mere clan head, rises to their position through their own way. There are of course thousands, tens of thousands of ways, but they all can be narrowed down to two. One is ruling the people with a velvet glove, and the other with an iron hand. When I do things, I don't need a reason. While you, kid, started preaching about righteousness and loyalty. Sigh, our paths are indeed opposite. They all started smiling wryly, with Luo Yunchan teasing. With the Luo clan always having Steward Jue around, everyone started shaking in fear every day. Fearing they'd slip up and get a tongue lashing from you. If Yihai ends up like you, the clan would be done for. They all burst out laughingly. Jingtian and Yan Song nodded instead. One Juefan had these two experts bending a knee. Despite their elder positions, it mattered not when this guy was around. If there were two Juefan, that would be a disaster. They'd end up as slaves. They were immensely gratified that the future clan head, Luo Yihai, would have a different path than the demon Juefan, but not for the Luo clan. It was all in self-interest, relishing a better future in the clan. However, Juefan mocked with a shake of his head. Women aren't as witty as their long hair suggests. All people respect ruling with a velvet glove, but it is used merely as a front while its core is rotten. How many people in this world truly rule with a velvet glove? The large majority rule with an iron hand and a velvet glove. If the Luo clan truly wants to grow into a benevolent clan, I won't give it 2 years before it suffers calamity again. What? Then I'd rather walk the path of the iron hand like you. Luo Yihai blurted. Get those 4 back at once. I won't be as lenient. Luo Yihai spoke with eyes filled with tears. The slaughter 2 years ago was still very fresh in his mind and his judgment was clouded by it. He absolutely couldn't let it happen again. Juefan could see the struggle in his heart as well. Shaking his head, Juefan rubbed the kid's head. The world may change, but your decision is final. The reason for today's affair was to see if you had it in you to be a clan head. Ha ha ha, and you passed with flying colors. The second reason was to see your path. It is a bit disappointing, but no worries, you have me. What you don't want to do, I will do it for you. You don't want to bloodshed, I will erect a bone tower and throne for you to stand on. You rule with a velvet glove, and I will sweep everything with an iron hand. All until there is no one around to defy your word. Big Brother Jue. Luo Yunhai wailed as he threw himself in his embrace. Luo Yunchang bit her lip, tears glistening. Thank you? The others nodded with even more respect. The Luo clan may have nothing, but with Shuafan there, it was enough. Old Pang, take the brat to Durga army. He patted Luo's back and smiled. Had your path been the same as mine, I would have guided you in your cultivation. But now I see that old Dugu is the best suited for the job. Captain Peng pulled an unwilling Luo Yuhai away. Shuafan turned to the rest. You may all return to your duties. Elder Yen, elderly, you two stay. The others left, leaving only Li Jingtian and Yan Song behind. Shuafan sighed. Just how is this possible? I've taught him for half a month already. He. Is Steward Zhua still not over it? That brat must be like a son to you. Li Jingtian chuckled, but he couldn't hide the admiration. But Steward Zhua, I bow before you in true admiration. If it were me, I'd have long taken power in this wretched and weak clan for myself. I've never seen one as devoted as you. The Luo clan is indeed steadfast and righteous. You have my entire respect. Yes, Steward Zhua may be doing everything with an iron hand, but you are treating the Luo clan with a velvet glove. Such deep emotions and ethical behavior. I wonder what great favor has the Luo clan head done to Steward Zhua to earn such devotion into raising his children? Yen Song cupped his hands in respect. Shuafan rolled his eyes. His relation with the former clan head was non-existent. It was all that damned heart demon's fault. Although his course of action was no longer entirely because of it, as he started to care for the Luo clan. But when it was all said and done, everything was in self-interest, so when they said he was using a velvet glove, he had to chuckle. You two have roamed the land for many years. Do any notable experts in fire and water attributes come to mind? Shuafan suddenly asked. They exchanged a glance and said, Why do you ask, Steward Zhua? Squinting, Shuafan replied, Luo clan is currently safe, but trouble will soon come knocking. Of the 4 arrays, the Poison Dragon array in the east is handled by Elder Yen, and the Dazzling Gold array in the west by Elder Li, a body cultivator. I still need 2 experts to control the Black Flame array in the south and the Ice Shadows array in the north. If an attack comes, the 4 arrays can fend it off and also correlate with each other in not letting anyone out once they enter. Frowning, Li Jingtian said, 2 names come to mind now that I know what Steward Zhua is looking for. Who? Shuafan asked anxiously. Raging Ancestor, Qiu Yehai, and Ice Moon Witch, Shuiqingjian. What, those 2 old monsters? Vicious Pill King yelled and started shaking his head vehemently. Absolutely not. Those monsters are stubborn as mules. They refused to leave their seclusion even when Regent Estate invited them. The Regent Estate ended up forcing their way to them only to suffer dearly. None disturbed them since. Oh, and how is their strength? Shuafan raised an eyebrow. 5th layer of Radiant Stage. Li Jingtian's eyes shined. I once fought with them myself. If the fight was 1-on-1, I would have won, but they were working together, water and fire combined. Not even 5 of me could endure their attacks for long. Oh, they know how to combine fire and water? Very good. It's settled then. Shuafan grinned. We're off at sunup. But Steward Zhua, how do we invite them? Yen Song blinked in worry, snorting. Shuafan snickered. What invitation? I have always used an iron hand in everything. Elderly, do you still have the 2 spring pills? Of course, it's such an amazing pill and can't bear to throw it. Ha ha ha. The 3 shared a glance and started snickering evilly. Chapter 208 Fire and Water Conflict. Chapter 208 Fire and Water Conflict. At the crack of dawn, Shuafan started on his journey with Li Jingtian to find those 2 old monsters without so much as a goodbye. He left Yen Song behind. Luo Yunchang was mad after she heard Yen Song tell her this. He's leaving and going whenever, like this place is a tavern. Lei Yuding was just as pissed. Because ever since his return, he has not once talked to her. They only spoke about the affairs of the outside and the Luo clan, never freely. Humph, that brat must be seeing someone outside. Lei Yuding's jaw was in a vice, her knuckles white, ready to pounce like a tigress. 3 days later, Duge Zhantian had received imperial summons to return. The Duge army left swiftly, taking with them Luo Yihai, since he was his 5th godson at the moment of parting with the Luo clan. Luo Yihai felt somewhat sad seeing that Zhuo Fan wasn't there to see him off. It was normal for Duge Zhantian to go off to war for decades, and who knew when the two would see each other again. He started feeling down. Luo Yunchang rubbed his head in an attempt to console him, but it proved useless. Zhuo Fan came and went as he pleased, though all knew he always had the Luo clan's best interest in every move, but every time he does this, it leaves everyone with a cold feeling. You could at least say goodbye to the child. But Zhuo Fan never even considered such trifles. He only had long-term returns in mind. 3 months later, 2 men stood in front of a 100-mile-long steep and winding mountain range. Not able to see the end of it caused Zhuo Fan to sigh. The mountain before them was called Snowfire Peak. One half was covered in endless snow, while the other in towering flames that made the entire sky shimmer from the heat. Its scorching blaze burned everything in a 10-mile radius. What was curious about it was the middle ground, where the ice and fire met. The transition was jarring, as if someone drew a line. One step you'd be in ice, the next in a furnace. People couldn't help but sigh at the world's wonders. But Zhuo Fan knew this wasn't made by Mother Nature but men. This used to be a vibrant place full of life, not the Snowfire Peak what was called today. This happened due to 2 old monsters staying here. They up and started trading blows, shaping the mountain range with every exchange into this, a hell of fire and ice. How long did they fight to change the place so damn much? Zhuo Fan sighed. But in his mind, he approved of such actions. Even in the Radiant stage, such power was impressive for these experts to have. They sure fit the bill for who he was looking for. Li Jingtian laughed wryly. Steward Zhuo, they are a couple that used to fight against Tianyu and caused fear at their mere mention. But their character is strange, to put it mildly. They each cultivate an opposing cultivation method. They are unreasonable and do not answer to anyone. In the end, they settled here and the empire calmed. Though they did ruin this fine place, into this, ha ha ha. Since that's the case, how come Regent Estate couldn't get them? Zhuo Fan raised an eyebrow, shaking his head. Li Jingtian sighed. Steward Zhuo, this pair is bizarre to extreme. You need to look beyond their mere lover's spat. Once an enemy comes, they both rise to meet it. Their cooperation is seamless. At the time, 10 Radiant stage experts were forced to withdraw, beaten to a pulp and filled with anger. I see. They look to be at odds, but their hearts are together. To protect each other. Zhuo Fan nodded. Then, a sudden soul ripple passed over the two. They realized on the spot they'd been spotted. Elderly, you know what to do, right? Zhuo Fan spoke coldly, snickering. Li Jingtian nodded. Of course, outsmart our betters, ha ha ha. Li Jingtian! With a whoosh, a man in red came from the burning side of the mountain range, bellowing with such rage that jarred the two's ears. Zhuo Fan eyed him carefully. He was a bald man in his 60s, had vibrant eyes as if they could shoot out flames, and heat seemed to be coming from his body constantly, not 30 meters from him. Zhuo Fan could feel as the scorching heat was evaporating even his sweat. He reckoned that any closer would have him combust. His fire yuan qi is so pure. Zhuo Fan admired. Li Jingtian took a step in front of Zhuo Fan to shield him and shouted. Qiu Yehai, it's been ages, but more uncouth than ever, it seems. You even release such pressure in front of a junior. Humph, uncouth? Were you and Regent Estate any different? There were 10 of you and only 2 of us back then. Qiu Yehai mocked, his eyes staring at Li Jingtian. Mad Dipper, why are you here? There's no way you can beat us alone. Snickering, Li Jingtian said. Raging Ancestor, take it easy. I've not come as your enemy. It is this young master of ours who has a fire physique and the imperial tyrant body art isn't suited to him. I was tasked by the estate lord to bring him here so you can take him as a disciple. Disciple? Qiu Yehai frowned. Your regent estate has many cultivation methods. Why must you come for mine specifically? Ha ha ha, you're absolutely right. Regent Estate has many cultivation methods, but none greater than Imperial Tyrant Body Art. This young master wants to go higher, and has to train in the best fire cultivation method in the Empire. Which brings me to you. Everyone knows Raging Ancestor's Heaven-Searing Inferno is second only to the 7 houses' cultivation methods in the profound rank. Xiao Yihai nodded, but the mere mention of Regent Estate stirred a raging fire in him. How could he take a disciple? He snorted. Li Jingtian, you've become more yellow on the inside ever since you joined the Regent Estate. If you wanted to show some goodwill in wanting me to have this kid as a disciple, the estate lord should have come himself. But seeing you here instead, proves all of Regent Estate is only a den of dogs. Li Jingtian was starting to get angry. Humph, I'm the yellow-bellied one. We'll see who has real guts once you swallow this thrifty little bloodworm. Raging Ancestor, enough bullshit. Will you take him or not? No! Xiao Yihai barked. You dare ask me to take your young master as a disciple when your 10 venerables had us 2 surrounded back then? Li Jingtian, you think I'm as gutless as you? Li Jingtian gnashed his teeth, his patience wearing dangerously thin. He could only curse, we'll see soon enough. But just then, an annoyed voice sounded. Elderly, your boasting of Raging Ancestor to high heavens barely convinced me to come take a look. And what do I see now that I'm here? Hardly anything to look at. He's even worse than our profound heaven elders. Qiu Yihai looked to see Zhuofan mocking him and snapped. Cut the crap! I once fought 10 of your venerables and didn't lose once. How dare you say that? Isn't it? Zhuofan pointed at the mountain range with childlike fascination. Look, our profound heaven elders scorched a mountain so thorough that it can't freeze. But you are so weak, with Liu Yuan Qi, letting half of it freeze back. Qiu Yihai was flummoxed. Did the Regent Estate have such an ignorant youth to not even know of the fight between these 2 great experts? To save his own face, Qiu Yihai was forced to preach to the child. Kid, I don't quibble with ignorant youths. But you need to understand something. This wasn't a mountain set on fire, but the result of the bitter battle between me and my wife. Wow, amazing! Zhuofan exclaimed. You caused all this just from the aftermath of your battles. Not even our venerables can do that. Qiu Yihai nodded pleased. Sensible lad. But Zhuofan's next line had him close to spitting blood. Old Qiu, your wife is amazing. She almost froze your fire. Qiu Yihai shuddered from rage. Punk, stop your nonsense. That's absolutely ridiculous. It is my fire that melted her ice. Raging Ancestor, who fought his wife for all this time, hated to be told he was weaker than her. Zhuofan knew this and still did it just to spite him. Zhuofan shared a glance with Li Jingtian, and the 2 were giddy inside, but before Zhuofan could irk the old man some more, an elegant voice rang. Little brother is so adorable. Sister could just eat you up. Hear that, you old coot? Even this pup can see you're weaker, so just admit it. A white figure floated before them. Zhuofan looked to see a 17-year-old delicate girl, with bright eyes and dazzling smile. But Zhuofan knew it fully well. She was 100-years-old hag, and when she started to call herself sister, it sent a chill right down to his core. He just couldn't make sense of something. The higher one cultivated, the long one's life was and the stronger one got. But this woman fancied wasting some of her cultivation to keep herself young and fit, to look like a fetching lady. If this part would have been used to improve her strength, she would have soared by now. Wouldn't she have beaten the old guy ages ago? Zhuofan shook his head. It was simply beyond his understanding, but that was normal. A pragmatic and cynical man who only saw gain would never understand why a woman dolled herself for her man. Chapter 209 Extreme Fire and Extreme Water. Chapter 209 Extreme Fire and Extreme Water. You're so pretty, sister! Zhuofan entered kid mode the instant he saw her. Raining fake praises on her, the woman started pinching Zhuofan's little cheeks with a smile of joy. That's so sweet, you little rascal! Sister doesn't much like anyone from Regent Estate, but I'll make an exception just for you. Zhuofan nodded with a smile, pointing at Qiu Yihai. Sister, are you his granddaughter? You look nothing alike. He's just so damn ugly. How can that thing ever relate to someone as beautiful as you? The woman's charming laughter made the world seem vibrant. She then pinched Shuafan's cheek stronger. You're so adorable, you scamp. Hi hi hi. The two spectators broke into a coughing fit, Li Jingtian in particular, who was doing his best to signal Shuafan. I say, Steward Zhua, I won't judge if you do it without even realizing. But if you are doing it knowingly, Sai, have you no conscience? Chiu Yehai stared a hole into Shuafan and cursed. Are your eyes for decoration? That hag is 100 years old. Even while using some cultivation to keep up appearances, her aura is nothing like that of a young lass. You mean to tell me that in all your time cooped up in Regent Estate you've never even seen a girl? Oh? The woman replied before Shuafan could, with a biting remark. Old fart, just where exactly do you see me as a grandma and not a lady? You want to be slapped? Humph, I rest my case. What lady in her right mind would call herself grandma? You're so old, but ever shameless. Chiu Yehai mocked the women when red and huffed in anger, as she sent a palm attack in a flash of white. Even the shimmering heat around them started turning into ice crystals. Chiu Yehai was fully focused on fighting back. With a flick of his sleeve, a blaze erupted, blocking the white light. Old crone, you want to go at it again? And what if I am? Who told you to run your mouth before this child that this grandma is old? Humph, so what if I call you old? You're so on in years yet still thinking of raising a cherry boy into your sugar daddy? Shut your mouth, you old fart! The two snapped at each other at every chance they got. Shuafan and Li Jingtian smiled and sighed. It was then that Li Jingtian shook his hands vehemently. People, I came here for this child to get a master, not to see a lover spat. And since Brother Chiu is very much against the idea, we'll be taking our leave. Later, sister. Shuafan waved sadly at the woman. The woman's heart softened and shouted. Wait, I love this child dearly. I'll teach him. You can teach shit. He has a fire physique and only my fire cultivation method fits him. Why are you butting in when you're just a water cultivator? Chiu Yehai retorted sourly. The woman brushed him off as she puffed out her chest. Grandma fought with you for so long that I figured out your heaven-searing inferno, and know it like the back of my hand. Why can't I take this kid in? Chiu Yehai paused for a moment, realizing the truth of it, but still ridiculed. He, I am not the best fire expert in Tianyu just from my cultivation method, but also this. His hand was holding a rumbling scarlet flame. Shuafan's eyes widened in shock. Heaven and earth spirit flame, earth erupting fire sea. Kid, you've got quite the eyes. Chiu Yehai raised an eyebrow, then nodded in pride. Precisely, if you were to be my disciple, beside the heaven-searing inferno, you will get a fragment of this earth-erupting fire sea. That will make you my true successor. Shuafan nodded. Now he knew why Raging Ancestor was so strong to fend off 10 Radiant Stage experts alongside Ice Moon Witch. They were not only in sync, but had the earth-erupting fire sea as well. Despite all being called heaven and earth spirit flame, some were better than others. Vicious Pill King's bone soul true fire came from the bowels of a corpse deep in the earth, a e'en but gentle flame. It was best used in refining, while falling short in combat. As for the earth-erupting fire sea, it came from the heart of a volcano, volatile to extreme. It was a young and fierce flame that not only helped in refining but also an important asset in battle. Shuafan flicked his eyes on Li Jingtian. This guy got the upper hand on Chiu Yehai back then, even when the other used the earth-erupting fire sea. It is obvious how strong his body was. And that was only at the 7th stage of Imperial Tyrant body art. Now, he not only changed to the Wraith art, but also had the 3 matching profound ranked martial arts. Who knew how far he could go? Mad Dipper was a martial fanatic through and through. He has a body of a refining genius. Zhou Fan truly struck gold when he had this old man join his gang. Noticing his gaze and easily figuring out what he was thinking, Li Jingtian chuckled with his head thrown back. Sister, he said I can get the heaven and earth spirit flame if I become his disciple. What if, Zhuafan pointed at Chiu Yehai with a bright smile squinting, Ice Moon which wasn't about to back down just like that. Child, don't be so hasty. What that old guy has, so do I. Damn, the guy is a fire expert. Getting a heaven and earth spirit flame was a cinch for him. While you, a water expert, dare say you have one as well? Aren't you afraid it's gonna conflict with your cultivation method? But the next thing he knew, Juefan was staring into the Ice Moon Witch hand. She was holding a flickering and bright bluish fire. Juefan's eyes twitched and shouted. Holy hell, the Ice Heart Moon Soul? Correct. Among the rarest heaven and earth spirit flames, the one to match a water cultivator the most was this Ice Heart Moon Soul. This fascinating flame came to be in the core of a 10,000 years old ice that had been bathed by moonlight for another 10,000 years. Its warmth was bliss, its nature one that brought inner peace while also doing wonders to one's cultivation, but its most redeeming quality was that it could freeze any and every single thing in the world. No one could fend it off. Taking another look at the two, Juefan now knew why these monsters could repel Regent Estate's 10 venerables with Earth Erupting Fire Sea and Ice Heart Moon Soul working in tandem. Their power would explode. They were capable of drawing out the most of their power by joining hands. That was how they beat those 10 Radiant Stage experts. Oh my, you sure know a lot, child. It is a rare heaven and earth spirit flame, but not many know of it. How is it you recognize the Ice Heart Moon Soul with just a glance? Shui Qingjian eyed him inquisitively. Juefan laughed wryly. Something I picked up from an ancient book, ha ha ha. Hey, the kid wants to train in fire. Your Ice Heart Moon Soul is pretty enough, but doesn't suit him. I advise you to stop butting in. Seeing piqued Shui Qingjian's interest, Chiu Yehai shouted, darting his eyes around in thought. Juefan caught on to something. He grabbed Shui Qingjian's hand and started waving it around in his best childlike tone. Sister, I really want to train with you, but our attributes don't match. I can't use the Ice Heart Moon Soul either. Can you make the old man share his Earth Erupting Fire Sea with me? Hey punk, hands off the crone. Chiu Yehai was fuming mad. Shui Qingjian raised an eyebrow and laughed. Alright, I'll help you. She turned to Chiu Yehai. Old fart, are you up for a bet? What kind? Per usual. If you get even half a move over me, I won't take the kid as a disciple. If I get the upper hand, then you will give the Earth Erupting Fire Sea to the kid as a gift to my disciple. What do you say? Shui Qingjian shouted. Juefan hugged Shui Qingjian. No, sister. I want to stay with you. I want no Earth Erupting Fire Sea. No worries, child, this old geezer has never beaten me once. Patting his head, Shui Qingjian giggled. Chiu Yehai was pissed off by the taunt. Damn punk, didn't I tell you to lay off the crone? No way. Shui Qingjian and Juefan jutted their chests and replied at the same time. One could almost see steam coming out of Chiu Yehai's head. But since he didn't dare flare at Shui Qingjian, he directed it all on Li Jingtian. Old freak, you brought this pretty boy. After I finish here, I'll settle the score with you. Li Jingtian shrugged. Fine, it's a deal. Huffed Chiu Yehai. Let's go to our old place. He vanished the instant he finished talking. Shui Qingjian laughed and followed, with Juefan shouting behind her. Sister, I don't care about that fire. Just don't get hurt. But when the two were gone, Juefan flipped back to his calm and calculating face. Have a pleasant flight, you two. Ha ha ha, Steward Shui changes faces quite fast. If I didn't know you any better, that innocent act of yours would have taken me in from the start, thinking you're just a naive kid. Tone down the flattery. Juefan snapped his flickering eyes on Li Jingtian. You think those monsters are that easily fooled? Humph, they were always on guard. Does that mean our plan is botched? They won't fight? Hardly. Juefan snickered. Oh, they will fight all right, and go all out as well. Because whenever the old hag wants a fight, the old guy will naturally assist her. But they will always be on guard, because of you. Li Jingtian frowned. Juefan continued with a chuckle. While disregarding me completely. Just then, a massive boom echoed, followed by the sky splitting in half. One side was filled with a raging inferno to burn the world asunder, while the other a fierce blizzard capable of freezing everything. Xuefan snickered. One is extreme fire and the other extreme water, but neither can escape from my palm. I must have these elders. Chapter 210 Mad Battle of Fire and Water. Chapter 210 Mad Battle of Fire and Water. Boom! With shocking explosions that reached the ninth heaven, all the clouds scattered. It felt as if the world was heading to the end and the earth quaking so hard it would crack open. Xuefan and Li Jingtian were spectating at the foot of the mountain, nonplussed about it all. The battle went for 3 days. Despite the raging inferno towering on one side, it was unable to thaw the imposing glacier on the other side. Even a fraction raging ancestor, an ice moon which went back to their usual stalemate half a month later, their battle only escalated. So much so that even Xuefan and Li Jingtian could feel in danger. They had to retreat 100 miles finally after a long 2-month raging battle. It showed signs of subsiding. Xuefan snickered. It won't be long now. After a constant 3 months racket, the place had finally become silent with one final boom. The flames swallowing half the sky retreated and the blizzard stopped. Xuefan smiled. Elderly, it's our turn to join the act. Let's see your performance. Ha ha ha, ever since I switched to Wraith Art, my power has increased greatly over the months. I won't let Steward down. Laughing, Li Jingtian grabbed Xuefan's hand and flew to Snowfire Peak. In the place where fire and water met on Snowfire Peak, Shui Qingjian was kneeling on the ice, gasping for breath. Scarlet blood dripped from her mouth, yet her dagger stare never left her opponent. Old fart, you finally went all out? Old hag. Qiu Yehai, just as weakened as her, was shying away from looking Shui Qingjian in the eye. Forgive me, I ended up hurting you. Shui Qingjian squinted. Screw your apology. Who knew you're such a faker to hide your strength? You lied to me all these years. Speak, what is your real aim? Qingjian, don't misunderstand, I've joined with you so many times in fighting our enemies despite our differences. How can I have a nefarious aim? Why else would you hide your strength for so long? Half a year ago, I still thought we're still in a tug of war. How come you're stronger all of a sudden? Humph, you faker! Shui Qingjian flicked her head away. Qiu Yehai was panicking. He scratched his head and then sighed. Qingjian, we've fought for more than 100 times these past decades. And each time I could have won. You are too brash and quick to anger to accept this outcome, so I kept this from you. Show off! But Shui Qingjian would have none of it, cutting him off with a glare. Why stop now then? Qiu Yehai was startled and said in a sad voice. How could I not? If I lose now, you'll end up taking that pretty boy in. A lone man and a single young-looking woman together. Who knows what would happen? Shui Qingjian saw him all cold on the outside but quite warm and fuzzy on the inside, and burst out laughing. Qiu Yehai was clueless. You big lug, you thought I didn't realize you were going easy all these years? Shui Qingjian smiled, then she bore her hateful eyes in him. Humph, I only used the kid as an excuse to make a bet with you. It was the only way to make you go all out, or you'd still be keeping this charade. I may be quick to anger, but not petty. Qiu Yehai blinked then beamed. You mean you didn't fancy the pretty boy? Well, Shui Qingjian showed a teasing smile. May not necessarily be untrue. I could just eat that kid up from how adorable he is. But that'll depend on how you behave. If you dare lie to me again, I won't stop at just 1 inch. I won't. In the rare case we fight again, I'll make sure to go all out and beat you silly. What? Shui Qingjian glared at him. Qiu Yehai shrank back, smiling wryly as he scratched his head. Shui Qingjian couldn't help but laugh at his antics. The pair's decades-long spat had finally experienced closure. Whoosh! Suddenly, Li Jingtian brought Xuefan over. Xuefan was shocked to see Shui Qingjian hurt and ran over. Sister, you're hurt. Here's a pill to help you recover. Hey brat, you're not allowed to get too close. The old hag lost. Qiu Yehai saw Xuefan so concerned over her, and jealousy won over him again. Xuefan took out a vial for her. Sister, this spring pill can heal you and restore your yuan qi. Take it. Shui Qingjian frowned. She had her guard up even towards this seemingly innocent youth. Bam! Suddenly, the vial flew from his hand. Zhuo Fan turned to see Li Jingtian watching them coldly. What are you doing, elderly? Young master, they are Regent Estate's enemies. Now that they're weak, it's the best chance to kill them. Li Jingtian spoke with towering bloodthirst shining in his eyes. Shui Qingjian and Qiu Yanhai paled, and Zhuo Fan panicked. He spread his arms in front of Shui Qingjian. Stop, elderly! Aren't you here to help me get a master? Why? Humph, that would have been perfect. But killing them would be so much better. Snickering, Li Jingtian snorted. Young master, step aside. I don't want to hurt you, or worse, kill you. I cannot bear such responsibility. Li Jingtian, how dare you? My dad. Not even the estate lord can save you. In fact, he may even agree to my actions. Exchanging a kid's life for two old enemies is totally worth it. Li Jingtian glared at Zhuo Fan. Zhuo Fan reeled 2 steps back in fear, unable to accept the cruel reality. Shui Qingjian and Qiu Yanhai nodded at each other. This was more like Regent Estate style. Oh, the pill! Zhuo Fan shouted. He started searching frantically for it. Sister, take the pill and recover. Li Jingtian squinted and sent a palm attack around where the vial landed, but a sudden figure blocked it. Raging ancestors. Shui Qingjian then picked the vial and said, Little brother, is this pill that good? Of course. Zhuo Fan smiled in glee. Li Jingtian shuddered, worried she was going to take the pill. He charged at her with another palm attack, but Qiu Yanhai was there to block him again, using his earth-erupting fire sea to launch a sea of flames. Boom! Earth-erupting fire sea was strong, but Li Jingtian had toughened up since before. And since Qiu Yanhai had fought for 3 months, he was no longer Li Jingtian's match. Fresh blood spurted from Qiu Yanhai as he flew into the air. Li Jingtian then shot for Shui Qingjian. Fire and water combine, dragon and phoenix! Shui Qingjian and Qiu Yanhai shouted at the same time. Their hand signs synced, and a pair of fire dragon and ice phoenix formed behind them. The fire dragon was made from the earth-erupting fire sea and the phoenix from the ice heart moon soul. The two pointed and the mighty creature fused their powers, charging for Li Jingtian. With the phoenix and dragon working in tandem, their powers were feeding off each other, growing tens of times stronger. When they arrived before Li Jingtian, they were 1,000 meters large. Zhuo Fan clicked his tongue inwardly. This is a fire and water combining art that amplified each element's power geometrically. Even a 6th-layer Radiant Stage expert will receive a heavy wound taking such an attack head-on. But that was regarding your run-of-the-mill Radiant Stage expert. And Li Jingtian was anything but that. Zhuo Fan didn't notice a snicker creeping on his lips. He was fully confident of Li Jingtian, and sure enough, Li Jingtian didn't lose his calm in front of such an onslaught. With a shout, his entire body was covered in black energy, the Wraith art. Li Jingtian turned into a black diamond and charged the attack as a black dragon image formed behind him. Wraith Style's first move, Soaring Demonic Dragon. Roar! The whale threatened to collapse the skies. A black dragon was facing off against a pair of fire dragon and ice phoenix. The impact affected even the Snowfire Peak. Despite being covered in ice and flames, it threatened to crumble in the aftermath. Roar! With another dragon roar, Li Jingtian saw he was caught in a deadlock and shouted, Wraith Style's second move, Ghostly Dragon Claw! The fire dragon and ice phoenix were swept by a claw, exploding in wails. The shockwave even stripped the Snowfire Peak's ice and fire. Rumble! The rumbling continued as the waves spread across the entire mountain range, removing the ice and fire completely. Shui Qingjian and Qiu Yanhai were thrown back dozens of steps. They were looking in fear at Li Jingtian as if he was a demonic god. Even exhausted as they were, they would have had no trouble fending off the old Li Jingtian. But it was clear that Li Jingtian wasn't the one of old. He was a true Mad Dipper now. He was unlike his past self. Now, he was like a living demonic god. Tens of times stronger than both of their weakened selves' attacks combined. That's no Imperial Tyrant body art. What freaky art are you training in? Qiu Yanhai swallowed in shock, grinning. Li Jingtian was immensely pleased by his progress and also grateful to Zhuofan. Humph, the dead need not know. The two jerked, knowing now Li Jingtian was not going to stop until either side was dead the way they were now. They were no match for Li Jingtian. That left them with one choice only. Shui Qingjian looked at the vial in her hand, at the spring pill inside. Zhuofan snickered secretly. Hook, line and sinker. Chapter 211 Two Spirit Animals. Chapter 211 Two Spirit Animals. Sister, run, I'll hold him off, Zhuofan shouted. He threw himself at Li Jingtian to hold him back. Li Jingtian barked. Young master, what are you doing? Don't force my hand. I don't care. You are not allowed to harm sister, Zhuofan shouted. His eyes filled with resolve. Shui Qingjian and Xiao Yanhai were moved. They looked in each other's eyes and nodded. Shui Qingjian opened the vial and gave a pill to Xiao Yanhai. I don't know if the pill will be of much help, but we cannot let the boy's efforts be in vain. He, old hag, that pretty boy must have got under your age but still pretty skin. Xiao Yanhai grinned. Shui Qingjian snapped to hide her blush. Old fart, you're still a wise ass despite being an antique. Hurry up and take the pills so we can live through this. Shui Qingjian stroked the ring on her finger and muttered. Sweetie, come out and protect me. Shriek. With a cry, a 20-meter-long white falcon appeared overhead. It flew in circles above, releasing a cold wind that blew to form a barrier around her. 5th-level spiritual beast, Snow Falcon. Zhuofan and Li Jingtian cried. The shock was far from over, as Xiao Yanhai also shook his hand with a smile. A roar echoed in everyone's ears as a scarlet tiger with flaming wings came out of his ring. The scarlet tiger circled Xiao Yanhai. Its 10-meter-long tail flicked at a 50-meter-tall cliff, rendering it into rubble. Its fiery eyes staring daggers into Li Jingtian. 5th-level spiritual beast, Earthcore Flame Tiger. Li Jingtian's eyes trembled, as did his heart. He was in ever more awe of Zhuofan. It all went just as he said. This old pair may have fought each other till they went senile, but still had kept a hidden card to deal with him. He didn't see such spirit animals the last time they fought, thus making them the couple's last card. Zhuofan was also wide-eyed, rather from excitement than fear. The more the old monsters had up their sleeve, the more he felt they were worth the effort. Young master, step aside! I have to settle them here and now. No! Li Jingtian roared, but Zhuofan still held him tight. Irritated, Li Jingtian slapped Zhuofan. Then you only have yourself to blame for what comes next. Despite the fierce palm attack, Zhuofan showed no fear. Shui Qingjian's eyes jumped but only shouted. Kid, we will avenge you! Shui Qingjian and Xiao Yanhai swallowed a pill each without an ounce of hesitation. They sat cross-legged to absorb it as the two 5th-level spiritual beasts stood guard. Creak. Li Jingtian's deadly palm grounded to a halt. Zhuofan snickered, easily slapping the palm away. Pa. Zhuofan straightened and eyed Li Jingtian with a wicked smile. All that's left is for them to absorb the pill. Ha ha ha, Steward Zhua truly works in mysterious ways. You're far more cunning than that unwanted contriver. Those two actually took the so-called pills. They used to be so cautious about everything, only to fail in the end. Li Jingtian laughed. The two spiritual beasts were stunned. Their masters called them out to stand guard, but why was it that this old guy was taking his sweet time, with not even a measly intention to attack? Zhuofan snickered. Elderly, easy on the flattery. There's nothing mysterious about my skills. I only guided them to this outcome. The more dangerous the moment, the easier it is for a cautious man to let his guard down. If he can see a thread of hope, he will grab it without fail. A bitter pill to swallow is quite the fitting description, don't you think? All I did was set up the stage for this peril to unfold, and make them swallow a pill they had no knowledge of. Li Jingtian's eyes shined in admiration. He is mighty in the pen and the sword. His methods are convoluted and impossible to see through them. He is the genius of the millennium. By the way, Zhuofan eyed Li Jingtian puzzled. Elderly, you said Regent Estate wanted to subdue this pair and even sent 10 radiant stage experts. But didn't unwanted contriver Ling Wuchang pull any tricks? Ha ha ha, of course he did. Only he lacked your bloodworms. So his only plan was to surround the two with Regent Estate's forces. But it backfired instead, and the matter was dropped. The estate lord at the time wanted to force the pair into submission, but was forced to forget about this when they were just too stubborn and had no way to make them capitulate. Chua Fan nodded. It wasn't Ling Wuchang's fault for not succeeding, but the lack of means to do it. Without his bloodworms, even Zhuo Fan would have gone home empty-handed. As they talked, the couple slowly opened their eyes and shot to their feet. But the view left them speechless. Where did Li Jingtian's fierce bloodthirst go? Why was the kid safe and sound? They recalled how the last image, before closing their eyes, was that of Li Jingtian's devastating palm coming swiftly on the kid's head. Zhuo Fan easily saw through their doubt and bowed. Seniors, let me reintroduce myself. I am not from Regent Estate, but Luo Clan Steward, Zhuo Fan. I represent our clan head when I invite seniors into our clan as elders. Please allow us this boundless honor, seniors. What? The two were shell-shocked as they turned to Li Jingtian. He nodded with a laugh. As you can guess, I'm no longer Regent Estate's venerable, but Luo Clan's elder. I was reminded of your impressive power, and since you didn't belong to any house, we came to extend an invitation. The two's hearts shuddered from shock. Who was this Luo Clan to win over Li Jingtian, an astounding expert from Regent Estate? It wasn't just a taunt at Regent Estate, but making a hole in their defenses. What's more, Regent Estate remained passive. Or they wouldn't have had the time to come here. Just what kind of house was this Luo Clan to drive fear even into Regent Estate? They may be shocked, but they were still as stubborn as a mule. Shui Qingjian laughed, glaring at Zhuo. Little brother, I did say I will take you in, but I never mentioned anything about you having me. Quite right. Only I can have this crone, ha ha ha. Qiu Yinhai laughed without shame, earning a blush and a glare from Shui Qingjian. Zhuo Fan scratched his nose. That's fine as well. My forte is that I do not like to force people. Though I may perhaps have a little loathsome fault. Whatever I set my eyes on, I must have it. And what I can have, no one else can. Zhuo Fan made a sign before the two could react. The air filled with the couple's wails as Shui Qingjian and Qiu Yanhai's head bled out along with the accompanying excruciating pain. The spiritual beasts were startled and flew at Zhuo Fan. This brat is the real menace, hiding himself to such extent. Zhuo Fan wasn't the least bit afraid. You two better sit and behave, or all you'll get is your master's corpses. Zhuo Fan made a hand sign and the couple spat blood. It then started pouring from every orifice of their head like a fountain. The spiritual beasts stopped in panic, freezing in uncertainty. But their pitiful eyes bore into Zhuo Fan, begging for mercy. Li Jingtian shook his head. With Zhuo Fan's mean streak, not even spiritual beasts could escape his grasp, least of all fellow humans. Brushing past those two poultry's begging gazes, Zhuo Fan walked to the couple and flashed his most dastardly grin he could muster. Seniors, why must you suffer so? As long as you agree to join the Luo clan. What did you do to us? Qiu Yinhai barked helpless. Zhuo Fan started explaining to them bloodworm's effect with a smile. You shouldn't take candy from a stranger, much less a pill. Ha ha ha. The demonic cackle sent a chill down to their very core. They, who roamed the land for decades without anyone standing in their way, were played by a snot-nosed brat. This is the last time I'm asking. Will you comply? Zhuo Fan said. Death before dishonor. We will never submit. They both said in unison. Zhuo Fan sighed. I'm only asking you to be guarding elders in the Luo clan. There's no dishonor in it at all. But don't take my word for it, ask elderly. Steward Zhuo is always courteous and respectful, Li Jingtian shouted, while cursing inside, with the occasional bouts of cruelty in between. He could recall as if yesterday, when he and Yen Song voiced their complaints, Zhuo Fan flew into a rage. It was only thanks to Luo Yunchang that the two managed to calm his anger just by kneeling. Who knew what did he do to them otherwise? Li Jingtian felt an odd sense of kinship with the pair in this regard. Luo clan's elders were perhaps the most miserable elders in the whole wide world. One's life didn't rest solely at clan heads' whims, but more so at the stewards, and before you'd even begin to consider clan heads' whims, you'd first have to go with the stewards. You tell me, is that what you call an elder? Even Regent Estate is better than this steward. Chapter 2:12 Fire and Water Join the Fold. Chapter 2:12 Fire and Water Join the Fold. No way in hell are we going to submit. The two were very much thick in the head, shaking their heads at Xuefan's every attempt to sway them. Then the smile faded from Xuefan's face. Since you are unable to face reality, you'll only have yourself to blame for what happens next. Xuefan spoke coldly, a mere sign for him had the two writhing on the ground in wails of pain. Their limbs contorted and cracking was heard each time a bone shifted. Blood pooled beneath them, but not from any visible wound. It was akin to twisting a towel to squeeze all the water out. This was one pain not even these two old veteran monsters could cope with. It stabbed their very core. Li Jingtian rejoiced inwardly. Thank heavens I switched sides so quickly. Who knows what untold suffering might have awaited me besides this one. This is inhumane. This time, he watched Xuefan in fear. The two spirit animals panicked at their master's suffering. They once again flew at Xuefan, but Li Jingtian jumped in defense, all while Xuefan held an uncaring hand sign. A series of pops sounded as the couple's bodies went off like firecrackers as wounds opened all over them, and setting them off into another round of even more heartrending wails. Xuefan turned to the two poultries. Don't pets know how to obey? I told you to sit down and behave, or they won't get to live much longer. Their charge stopped, reduced to flying in circles from worry. They could neither withdraw nor retreat, forced to watch their masters in tears. If they could talk, they'd urge their masters to give in. One should know when he's beaten. But all they could do was cry out in sounds no human could decipher. Xuefan shook his head. Your pets are worried sick. Why must you be so cruel to yourselves? He, punk, don't look down on us. We may have fallen in your trap, but there's no way you'll make us submit. Get it through your thick head. Qiu Yehai cackled through the pain. Shui Qingjian showed a mournful smile. Ha ha ha, old fart, we've done whatever we wanted for so long, only to die at the hands of a child. We've lost all respect. My only joy is that I can die alongside you. As am I, ha ha ha. Qiu Yehai nodded, determined to stare death right in the face. On the brink of death, these two could still show a smile of joy. Even Xuefan was touched. These guys are the real deal, so goddamn stubborn. But the more they were like this, the more they tickled Xuefan's fancy. Whenever hearts came to mind, Xuefan was an expert at striking where it hurt the most. Didn't he turn Li Jingtian and Yan Song on his side the same way? The reason for the couple's tough character was love. This was both a strength and a weakness. Xuefan deadpanned. I had a fairly short time to know you, but I can see how deep you love each other. Are you so set in watching the other die? He, punk, how can a brat like you know what love is? Grinning, Qiu Yehai looked deeply into Shui Qingjian's eyes with a gratified smile. As long as she is with me, I welcome death. Shui Qingjian nodded with a beautiful smile. Xuefan let out a cruel smile. I don't know love, is it? Humph, then let me tell you of the love that I see. First of all, you. Pointing at Qiu Yehai, Xuefan sneered. You fought with this old hag for all your life, yet not won once? You both have the same cultivation, the same rare flame, but she used some cultivation to keep herself young. Of course she's the weaker one. How could you not beat her? It's clear as day you went soft on her each time. Qiu Yehai only had a prideful smile in reply. Xuefan turned to Shui Qingjian. And you, in this world, might make right, and you went and wasted some cultivation just on looks. The way I see it, you're clearly asking for death. It was fine if you were someone going out in public every day, but who will see you when you're hiding out in a mountain? Humph, of course I know you dolled yourself for your man. How could I not? But the way I see it, it was a complete waste. What, Qingjian, you stayed young just for me. Qiu Yehai ignored Xuefan's disdain, watching Shui Qingjian in gratitude. I need to look closer then. I must have been blind to not appreciate you all these decades. Shui Qingjian blushed and pouted. She took Xuefan's critique as a compliment. Xuefan didn't mind, since this was his aim. He wanted to spur their love to the highest possible point, only to smash it down to pieces. Humph, you must really think I'm singing you praises, right? Well, let me tell you, love is your greatest weakness. Bullshit. Our love is eternal. We live and die together, and there's nothing you can do to stop it. Qiu Yihai mocked. Oh really? Grinning, Xuefan grabbed Shui Qingjian's fair neck. Qiu Yihai shouted in fear. What are you doing? Take it up on me if you're a man and leave my woman out of it. Don't fall for it, old codger. If one dies, the other will soon follow. Nothing he'll do will make a difference. Shui Qingjian glared. Qiu Yihai nodded and relaxed. Xuefan, however, snorted. You think it's that easy to die in my hands? Fret not, I won't kill you, though I have the nagging feeling you're going to beg me for it later. A black energy came from Xuefan and seeped into Shui Qingjian as he began using demon transformation art. Shui Qingjian's yuan qi was sucked away and her body started to age, her hair whitening, but that wasn't caused by demon transformation art, but from having the yuan qi reserved in keeping appearances stripped away. Ha ha ha, old hag, so this is how you really look. You can no longer keep up your youth. Why don't you let your old man get a nice long look at you now? Xuefan laughed, twisting Shui Qingjian's head towards Qiu Yihai. He also put a mirror in front of her to see her true face. Shui Qingjian shuddered at the aged, grizzled-haired old woman. She wailed. No, old codger, don't look. Ha ha ha, nice try, but your body is under my control. Shutting your eyes won't work. The old guy will now see how old and wrinkly you are. Xuefan cackled. No, don't look, don't look. Shui Qingjian shook her head as tears flickered in her eyes. Qiu Yihai consoled. Qingjian, don't worry. To me, you are the most beautiful. Xuefan smiled and sighed. Women doll up for their men, and this is the men's attitude? Humph, why would any woman do it if not to attract men? Especially towards the one they love, the woman will want to look at their prettiest. Even if the man spoke of loving her wholly. She never wanted to let him see her ugly side. Xuefan saw through it, so he raised their love higher. Then made her return to her old and ugly appearance. He wasn't aiming at the old guy from the start, but the old hag instead. First came the bashing of the old hag's mental walls, and later came the defeat of the old guy. Xuefan snickered, hopped on Shui Qingjian and mocked. He, sister, you don't much look like a sister now, do you? More like a granny if you asked me. Don't say it, please, Shui Qingjian cried as she covered her face. Qiu Yihai cursed. Beast, stop this instant, or you'll be sorry. Sorry? Ha ha ha, your lives are in my hands, yet you dare take that tone with me? Xuefan snickered as his hand grabbed Shui Qingjian's sash. You old pair of farts, do you believe me when I say that I can make this old hag look even more unsightly? Though I have no interest in seeing, and let your old goat eyes feast on her alone. But I can't help but wonder, just how interested are you, old man, in this sister's fine body? Xuefan punctuated by a light pulling. No! Shui Qingjian cried, her eyes already rolling in her skull. Qiu Yihai was tearing up, sobbing a plea. As steward, we submit. Please, just let her go. Don't shame us any more, I beg you. Qiu Yihai, a mighty expert, was crying like a child, earning sympathy from any who would see him. Xuefan turned to Shui Qingjian, to see the old hag nodding through her tears as well. Xuefan switched to a cheerful smile on the spot. Was that so hard? You could have done this from the start and spare yourself the suffering. Please rise, elders. Oh, how can anyone be so cruel to you, elders? I have with me some healing pills. Kindly take them, elders. Xuefan suddenly turned bipolar, as if his previous demonic him was a different personality. He helped the two up with the proper respect and gave them a vial. The old couple was scared witless. Seeing the vial, they suddenly broke out in shivers. They recoiled and shook their heads vehemently. They dreaded any more of Xuefan's pills, but Xuefan raised an eyebrow and snapped. You dare refuse my pills? Shuddering again, the couple creaked over and took the pills under Xuefan's watchful eye. Xuefan beamed again. In this way, the Luo clan just got itself another pair of obedient elders witnessing everything. Li Jingtian's heart shook to the core. Steward Zhua is an abomination to make these powerful experts crumble from his cruel ways in a matter of minutes. He is as demonic as it gets. He was grateful to high heaven for changing sides as fast as he did. Or was Steward Zhua's cruel methods, who knew what boundless humiliation he would be showered with at that point he'd have no reputation to speak of, ran thoroughly through the mud. Chapter 213 Deterrence. Chapter 213 Deterrence. After 6 hours, Qiu Yehai and Shui Qingjian opened their eyes, having mostly healed their injuries. Shui Qingjian returned to her youth, to the beaming Zhuafan and Li Jingtian at the side. Now that the couple got up, Zhuafan came to them with a friendly laughter. I guess congratulations are in order, for your recovery. Now let us all return to the clan. Shivering inside, the two staggered backward in fear. Don't look at me like I'm the enemy here. We're all on the same side now, no? Zhuafan shrugged and smiled at Shui Qingjian. Sister, did you already forget how close we siblings are? Swallowing dryly, Shui Qingjian scampered behind Qiu Yehai, like a mouse afraid of the cat. But the eyes held an unmistakable hatred overshadowed by immense fear glaring at him. Shui Qingjian spat. Who's your sister? I must have been blind to not see you've got the demon in you. True enough, since she took Zhuafan as a naive child who barely opened his eyes to the world. Who'd have thought this pup was in control of the famous Mad Dipper? He had no scruples and such vile schemes that had even this famed pair of monsters shiver in fear. How the hell was that a little brother? A demon from hell was more like it. Shui Qingjian was regretting having been swept by Zhuafan's sweet smile and sophistry. She was itching to gouge his eyes out and squash them. Zhuafan was becoming irritated. Qiu Yehai saw his mood sink and urged. Steward Zhua, please calm yourself. My old hag is raving. Don't mind her. Never mind then, your lives are in my hands anyway. It's your choice if you want to get along with me. Now that you're Luo clan's elders, it's time we move. Zhuafan ignored them and unfolded his lightning wings as he took to the skies. Seeing the demon take flight, the pair breathed easier, yet looked close to breaking down in tears. They who lived free in a mountain, they who fended off even Regent Estate's threats, how was it they had fallen so low, in the hands of a twerp? They couldn't make one sense of it all. Li Jingtian walked to them and mocked. Didn't you laugh at me saying I have no guts, old man? Well, where's yours? Smiling dejectedly, Qiu Yehai shook his head and sighed. I was at fault before. I didn't expect you to be so powerful. Ha ha ha, as long as you know, Li Jingtian said. But I am a man of immense willpower, and not under complete control of the bloodworm. And the ones I ever followed never were ordinary. Try to look beyond Steward Zhua's young looks. He does everything with calm and precision. Fierce tactics are a powerful man's tools. You won't lose out by following him. The two nodded after a long time. And since we'll be working together in the future, I'll let you in on the basics to survive in the Luo clan. Making sure Zhuafan was far enough, Li Jingtian whispered. The couple had their ears peeled. Please tell us, brotherly. Except for Steward Zhua, anyone in the Luo clan are good people to get close to, especially our young miss. She is a must to win over. Steward Zhua may be all about power play, looking down on all, but he is always devoted to the Luo clan. He will more often than not listen to young miss. So, if you ever get on his bad side, rush to the young miss and have her plead your case. That gets you off the punishment almost completely. Li Jingtian patted Qiu Yehai's shoulder, while giving the two a serious look. The two were immensely grateful as they cupped their hands. Thank you, brotherly. It's nothing. We are all in the same boat, you can dispense the courtesy. Ha ha ha. Li Jingtian waved. Was he actually that caring? Of course not. The two were ignorant of the Luo clan's matters, but would figure it out easily in the first 3 days anyway. He reminded them earlier since this favor came cheap and saw no reason not to have them owe him one. Just when did I begin turning into such a vicious man? He sighed and suddenly scratched his head. Guess environment changes the man. At the gates of the imperial capital, Marshal Dugu was sitting astride his large horse and entering the city with his 5 godsons. The million-strong army was stationed 10 miles out. The news of Dugujantian's return, the second of the 4 pillars to the court, was soon on the lips of every citizen. "Your Majesty, Marshal Dugu is seeking an audience. Enter!" In the golden palace of the imperial capital, the emperor was sitting on a lavish throne. Next to him was the man he often played chess with, Mr. Sima. Dugujantian entered with large steps and bowed. "Dugujantian greets your Majesty. May you have a long and prosperous life." "Ha ha ha, Marshal Dugu has come from far away. You must be weary, please sit." With a chuckle, the emperor walked to Dugujantian and helped him to a chair. Any man would feel immensely grateful and honored. But Dugujantian found it a matter of fact. He was after all a pillar of the empire. Wouldn't a man like him receive at least this much from the emperor? "Marshal Dugu, how is the situation in Wengai's city?" Dugujantian just took a seat and the emperor already started inquiring. Dugujantian sighed. "The circumstances are poor, I'm afraid. I have rushed to the rescue per the imperial edict, but I was late. Wengai's city had been under a terrible battle, in which the Luo clan lost 100,000 men." Watching Dugujantian speak in such a grave tone, the emperor's heart sank. Then he heard him mention Luo clan's losses and spurted blood. "Marshal Dugu, how can a third-rate clan like the Luo clan have 100,000 men?" the emperor exclaimed, then cursed inside. "Even me, who has rarely been outside the palace, knows it. How come you have no common sense? Marshal, did you see it yourself?" No, actually. But when Luo clan's steward reported it, I also found it odd. That steward is Xuefan." The emperor's face twitched. "Of course it's him again. That brat is nothing but trouble. Speaking of so many casualties as if it's the order of the day." Dugujantian nodded. "Your Majesty is wise. It is indeed Steward Xue who told me of Luo clan's casualties. I was also skeptical in trusting this man's careless talk. How can a small clan have so many people? Not even the 7 houses have so many. But Luo clan's losses were indeed great in that battle, with even their clan head falling victim." The emperor held his head and sighed. "Marshal, Luo clan head is dead for almost 3 years now." "What?" Dugujantian was shocked, then he went beet red. "Damn those wretched brats, they played me. But that's not the issue here. The problem is they made a fool of me in front of the emperor. Xuefan, Yihai, I will get you for this." Dugujantian gnashed his teeth. The emperor shook his head, knowing he'd been had. "Never mind then. Please tell me what you can about the Luo clan, Marshal." Dugujantian was startled, then lowered his head in shame. From the moment he entered the Luo clan, all he'd heard about it was from Xuefan's mouth, not getting the time to do his own investigation. And when it came to reporting, Xuefan's words didn't look as truthful now. He realized he knew next to nothing about the Luo clan. Noticing his plight, the emperor didn't know whether to laugh or cry. "Why did you even go to Wengai's city for? Are you just as sloppy with your enemy's intelligence as well?" "Never mind then." The emperor sighed. "Are the Luo clans Luo Yihai and Luo Yunchan all right?" They're completely fine." Dugujantian spoke. "Then what of Captain Pang Yi, their elder Lei Yutian and his goddaughter Lei Yuding?" Dugujantian started answering all the questions the emperor had regarding the Luo clan's higher-ups. In the end the emperor nodded. "Since they are fine, the Luo clan suffered no losses. But this clan sure is capable to still be standing despite the ever-watchful eyes of Regent Estate and Hell Valley. Your Majesty, outside Blackwind Mountain, where Luo clan is located, there are 4 5th-grade arrays placed by the clan head. A normal expert would find it hard to infiltrate." Dugujantian added. The emperor raised an eyebrow, then sent a shocking glance to Mr. Sima. "This Xuefan kid is more and more impressive. I heard he could set arrays, but never imagined he could set 4 5th-grade ones. What, they were done by Xuefan?" Dugujantian cried out, sighing. The emperor only glanced at the old man. "Just what have you been up to in Wengai's city? I asked you here to give me a report, but why is it me explaining things to you instead?" The emperor continued. "The Luo clan lost everything, even their clan head 3 years ago, leaving only the siblings, Steward, and Captain Pang Yi behind. The current Luo clan has been brought about by Xuefan. And it's this kid. The Emperor began recounting Xuefan's acts of troublemaking through the empire. Once he finished with the mess he left in Drifting Flower's edifice, he added, "This kid is a rare talent, but a pity he's too volatile. He makes me like him and hate him all at the same time. Luo clan's problems are due to him. But it is also he who made the Luo clan stand tall. I just can't tell if this bizarre steward is a blessing or calamity for the Luo clan." Blinking, Duge Zhantian was speechless. He never took Xuefan as an array master. As for all the stunts he pulled, Duge Zhantian couldn't care less. Hell, what soldier doesn't pull stunts? Skill is all that matters. I must have him in my camp. Duge Zhantian's mind was set. By the way, Marshal, is there anything else you'd like to report? The Emperor had no expectation at this point, but still asked. Duge Zhantian rushed to say, "Yes, it involves the Hell Valley and 2 other houses, evidence of attacking the Luo clan. Please make a decision, Your Majesty. These 3 houses had tried going into Wingay City while I was there." Duge Zhantian took the 3 jade slips out. The Emperor's eyes lit up and laughed. "With this evidence I'll finally take them down a notch. Did you see Regent Estate there as well?" Duge Zhantian shook his head. "Among the 7 houses House Lords group I saw in Wingay City, none were from Regent Estate." "I see. That cousin of mine sure likes to hide all traces. He's sure to plan something insidious." Throwing away the 3 jade slips, the Emperor barked, "Humph, I will use these 3 houses as a testament to my power. Let all see who is the true ruler of these lands." Chapter 214 The Dreaded Divine Dragons. Chapter 214 The Dreaded Divine Dragons. Hell Valley was a place ever shrouded in thick and eerie mist. Today, however, was an exceptionally sunny day and cleared the view somewhat despite the warm glow of the sun promised joy. The Hell Valley's denizens' hearts were in a haze. In the meeting hall, Yuan Shan sat in his chair with elders on either side. The empty seats among the rows of elders were a dead giveaway to their somber mood. They were grimly reminded of their losses. It had been 2 years since their wisest elder, Yugiki, was killed. In this time, the valley sent their best in getting revenge for such a heavy blow. The irony was, instead of the corpse of their most hated enemy, Xuefan, being brought, even more losses were added to the pile. Putting aside their very first elder losses in Wingay City, because of Xuefan as well, after Yugiki fell, the head count slowly included 3rd elder, 4th elder, 6th elder. Even 5th elder didn't escape unscathed. Having his arm ripped out, Hell Valley was in a precarious situation, with half of their 12 elders gone and 1 crippled. All while Xuefan was live and kicking. This was something hard to accept. It was utter humiliation. None foresaw they would take a blow as they did 3 centuries ago. Their 1,000-year-old legacy, their 7 houses' dignity was poked and taunted at every turn. Bam! Yuan Shan slammed the table, and all could hear his grinding teeth. Everyone was filled with the same hatred, especially 5th elder. He touched his wounded shoulder as fire threatens to escape his eyes every time he cursed one name over and over in his mind, Xuefan. But they were now stuck. They pushed the imperial family too far, and the latter summoned Marshal Dugu to drive fear into them. If they made one wrong move, they'd soon be seeing Dugu Zhantian's million army at their doorstep. And none could bear the brunt of such an aftermath. Here they were, all wishing to charge into Wingay City, to wring Luo clan and Xuefan of their blood, but none had the nerve to do it. Their very survival hanged in the balance. This was their conundrum. The Grand Elder looked around him and sighed. The atmosphere was stifling. "I can't take it anymore. I have to put that bastard down for good." 5th elder was the one to break first. Eyes turned to him, but none replied, even though they all felt the same way. Anyone there knew the consequences of such an action. A sudden ripple brought with it the faint sound of a flute. "God damn it! Who dares be cheerful at such a wretched time? I'll rip him apart." 5th elder was at a boil, and the music only helped to spur his anger further. But before he could go on the hunt, Grand Elder lifted his hand, fear shaking his very core. "Wait, Tethys's divine dragon Fang Qiubai's flute. Jade flute divine sword? They were all started, with hearts in their throat. Even the enraged fifth elder slowly calmed down, his mouth hanging open from shock. Damn it all! What is that jade flute divine sword doing here? Fifth elder turned to the rest. Yuanshan's side, filled with bitterness. Humph, why frickin' else? Isn't it the emperor who stuck him onto us? Just why has the decades wretched imperial family up and grown a backbone all of a sudden? Yuanshan felt like crying, but he braced for the meeting as he signaled for the elders to follow him outside Hell Valley. At the entrance, the figure of the imposing and mighty divine dragons Fang Qiubai was playing a melodious tune on his flute. When the sound stopped out of the blue, Fang Qiubai fiddled with the flute in his hand as he spoke coldly. By order of the emperor, Valley Lord Yu is to immediately attend court. Yuanshan was furious. The seven houses and imperial family were at an impasse, with both sides handling Tianyu's affairs. Even when an edict came before to Hell Valley, it had always been presented with respect and courtesy. It was clear that this time, the emperor sent the divine dragon with his edict. He even played the flute outside their valley to draw them out. It was a show of strength. If they showed any fear, wouldn't the emperor take an even harder stand when he saw him? No matter how sound his reason was, he still had to go. He wanted to have a long talk with the emperor. Shielding Zhuofan had many implications. Was the emperor setting himself the seven houses with this? Yuanshan was filled with sudden boldness. Mr. Fang has toiled coming here with the edict. Unfortunately, I have caught a cold and can only attend the court in a few months. Please show compassion. A damn cold? This load of bull can't get any more obvious than this. Can a peak profound heaven expert even catch a cold? You're clearly putting the emperor on the spot. The elders gave Yuanshan a nod. That's our valley lord. He'd used this excuse to tell that old goat we are Hell Valley of the seven houses. We're not his dogs to order around. Boom! An explosion jarred the ears of everyone, even as they were in awe of their valley lord. It was then followed by a fierce wind that picked up the dust. Once the dust settled, everyone gasped. The mountain range on Hell Valley's side had vanished into thin air. In midair, Fang Qiubai put away the jade flute. You are to set out at once, Valley Lord Yu. The next second, he vanished, leaving the Hell Valley's elders and Yuanshan pale from fright. The disappearing mountain struck a chord in everyone. Is this divine dragon Fang Qiubai's power? It's too damn insane. He has the power to obliterate Hell Valley all by himself. Whoosh! Suddenly, an aged man in gray robe appeared. Yuanshan lit up at his coming. Venerable, you arrived. Do you? Of course I know. I only dared come after he left. The Venerable sighed. Valley Lord, we really did it this time. The Emperor may be a paper tiger, but his 5 divine dragons are savage beasts by themselves. I'm saying that you just go to court and apologize. The Emperor can no longer be offended. Yuanshan nodded, feeling forlorn and on the verge of tears. What's wrong with us, Hell Valley? Someone barged in and yet we have to apologize. A week later, Yuanshan was punctual in his arrival to the imperial capital. A palace maid took him to a waiting room to await the emperor's summon. This never ever happened before. How was it that it suddenly turned to them waiting on the emperor now? He was helpless. Just who died and put the emperor in charge? He could only sigh. Following after the maid, and to add insult to injury, Yuanshan found 2 old friends in there already, Yen Bagong and Lin Rufeng. The 2 smiled wryly at Yuanshan's appearance. The 3 were like children in detention, sitting there outside the director's office, waiting for the emperor's call. House Lord Lin, who came to Merry Woods? With nothing better to do, Yuanshan started chatting. Lin Rufeng shook his head and sighed. Monochrome chess sage, Sima Hui. Oh, the old guy plays chess all the time and cultivates his mind. His temper is the mildest among the 5 divine dragons. Jade flute divine sword Fang Qiubai up and flattened the mountains on one of Hell Valley's sides. Mild my ass! Lin Rufeng started ranting with a mournful look. That old geezer didn't say a word as he entered Merry Woods and hurled chess pieces. Do you have any idea what that's like? Every single strike was like a meteor impact. Doing it a few times had leveled half of Merry Woods. Now we only have half a millennia legacy. Then he pulled out the Imperial Decree, stating his hand slipped just then. So don't go telling me he's mild. Lin Ruffin felt sour and tearful. Yuan Shan never thought there was anyone having it worse than Hell Valley. AI, you two lucked out compared to Pil King Hall. Yen Bagong sighed, as if all his energy left him. The ones you saw can still be called humans. While my envoy was downright savage. The entire Pil King Hall lays in ruins, with all our pills and ingredients picked clean. What? Eating all ingredients? The two cried out in shock, fear shining in their glassy eyes. Hall Lord Yen, you truly had it worse than any of us. For the Emperor to really let out that reckless little freak-out means he had reached the limit of his rage. Yen Bagong nodded. So painfully true. The three looked at each other, and the room was filled with laments. Puzzling the hell out of the guards outside weren't all 7 houses lords filled with brashness and contempt each time they came to the imperial capital? Why was it that this time they were like lambs going to the gallows? All they heard from the tree were wails and sighs. Chapter 215 The Tiger Leaves the Mountain. Chapter 215 The Tiger Leaves the Mountain. House Lords, His Majesty is summoning you. After a 6-hour-long wait, a guard finally came to this remote room. The three sighed as if going to their funeral and followed the guard without any dissent. Soon they came upon the palace's gates. The guard bowed and gestured for them to enter. With a deep breath, the three slipped into the hall. They saw the Emperor dignified on his throne, with Sima Hui next to him. At the end of the stairs, in front of the throne, stood the tall and mighty Marshal Dugu. The three swallowed dryly, feeling as if their hearts were in a vice when these men's gazes landed on them. Valley Lord Yu, Hall Lord Yen, House Lord Lin, greets your Majesty. They showed utmost respect to the Emperor. The Emperor nodded with a winning smile. House Lords, can you guess why I have summoned thee? They all shook their heads. Your Majesty, we do not. Bam! With a clang, 3 jade slips landed in front of them. The Emperor's tone dropped lower. Humph, so you don't know? Then do you at least know these jade slips? The three started sweating like pigs as they shivered a nod. In that case, do tell me, why are you explicitly defying my edict, going into the area I deemed forbidden? Not even you, the 7 houses, founding fathers of the empire, have such rights. The Emperor slapped the armrest of his throne, making the three slump into pleading on the ground in their knees. Spare us, your Majesty! This was unprecedented. The 7 houses' house lords were, for the first time, on their knees before the Emperor. The Emperor raised an eyebrow, feeling freer than ever. As if returning to the time of his ascension to the throne, when all officials showed him utmost respect. As a matter of fact, he was far more moved than before. When has there ever been a case in the long history of Tianyu Empire of an emperor getting the 7 house lords kneeling before them? It may be the very first time since this nation came together. Such honor lifted him above all other emperors before him. However, he couldn't let it show, or these 3 blokes would milk him for it. So the Emperor kept a hardened and cold face, though his tones sounded softer. Thou are all ministers loyal to our nation. You are unlikely to resort to such disgraceful behavior without rhyme or reason. Please share with me your motives so I can judge if your actions were indeed unintentional mistakes. The three's eyes lit up. Is the Emperor giving us a way out? All that we've been doing is because of that Shuafan. As long as that fool dies, Luo Clan and Wingei's city are of no importance. But before they could explain, Dugu Zhantian barked. Speak, who's behind you all? Shivering, the three choked on their words. They peeked at the Emperor, only to see him sporting the same cold and calm face that was tantamount to saying Dugu Zhantian was voicing the Emperor's intentions. Since he couldn't outright say it, he had Dugu Zhantian play his proxy. The meaning was crystal clear. The Emperor didn't care why they went to Wingei's city, only wanting to know by whose orders they marched. The Emperor was aiming for Regent Estate, and they were the means to an end. Mere pawns. They instantly broke out in cold sweat. The Emperor, a tiger cooped up in the palace all his life, was ready to go out and maul someone. But the problem was, Regent Estate wasn't an easy target either, a fierce tiger on its own. The three houses were now smack in the middle of the regent estate, and the imperial family's power struggle. Their only fate, sacrifices. Curse it to high heavens! How did we end up in this mess? If only we hadn't listened to Regent Estate and attacked Wingay's city. The imperial family would have no excuse to look for us. They now faced the heavy burden of choosing to let the emperor maul them or be used to maul the Regent Estate. But would the Regent Estate ever let them go afterward? Any choice promises death. The three were overwhelmed with regrets. They bit their lips, unsure what to say. Speak, who is behind you? Dugu Gentian barked and pressured them with his powerful soul. If it were any other occasion, the three-peaked profound heaven experts could have stood firm, since they were on the verge of advancing to the radiant stage. But now, however, they were frightened, their spirit shaken. And this show of force broke through their mental walls, making their clenched jaws relax. But then, a loud shout echoed. Regent Estate Lord, Huangpu Tianyuan and Prime Minister Zhuge Qianfeng are requesting audience. Eyes widening, the Emperor and the other two men were shocked for the estate lord to burst in at such a crucial time. His intention had to be premeditated. More importantly, why was he coming along with Zhuge Qianfeng? This spelled trouble. The three house lords heard Huangpu Tianyuan was coming and retightened their jaws. Thank God Regent Estate was scared of getting involved in this, so they came to the rescue. We'd been done for otherwise. Yuan Shan breathed in and calmed his heart. The Emperor narrowed his eyes. Let them in. This damn tiger can no longer sit on his mountain. Sima Hui muttered. The Emperor nodded with a grave expression. Estate Lord Huangpu Tianyuan, Prime Minister Zhuge Qianfeng, Regent Estate's Steward Ling, and Regent Estate's High Venerable Huangpu Fenglei greets Your Majesty. 4 people entered the hall. Walking behind Huangpu Tianyuan and Zhuge Qianfeng were 2 more. One of them was an old yet stout man that made even Divine Dragon Sima Hui's eyes tremble. What is Regent Estate's #1 expert, High Venerable Huangpu Fenglei, doing here? Sima Hui gasped, feeling the peak radiant stage power the old man was releasing. His cultivation was not one bit less than the 5 divine dragons. Huangpu Fenglei noticed Sima Hui as well, giving a smile in return, one with mockery and taunt. Oh my, house lords, the 7 houses have always been on the same footing as the imperial family. I know you all respect Your Majesty so, but there's no need for you to kneel. Others might grossly misunderstand and think His Majesty intends to suppress the 7 houses, going against ancestors' rule and bringing him shame. Up, come now, you can't have His Majesty suffer such injustice. After bowing to the Emperor, Zhuge Qianfeng went to help the 3 house lords with a smile. The Emperor clenched his fists and gnashed his teeth. The Emperor didn't allow them to rise, but Zhuge Qianfeng dared help them out of his own initiative. His intentions couldn't be clearer. But since Zhuge Qianfeng's reason was very sound, the Emperor could do nothing to vent his anger. This was how Zhuge Qianfeng usurped the Emperor's prestige, while raising the 3 house lords by getting them to their feet. That was because they had the Regent Estate backing them, helping ease their fears at that moment. The Emperor group's pressure exerted on the house lords went up in smoke. Using the same excuse again would no longer work. You're good, Zhuge Qianfeng, I'll give you that. The Emperor cursed inside but didn't let it show. He turned to Huangpu Tianyuan laughing. Cousin, you've been away from the imperial capital for decades. What could have brought you here today? Your Majesty, I have come to confess. Huangpu Tianyuan bowed. The Emperor's brow shook. Despite not understanding, he added, Cousin, I do not understand. Regent Estate is kin to the imperial family and always proper, defending the caged dragon's city in the imperial family's stead. What possible reason is there for you to confess? What crime? Your Majesty, your patronizing tone terrifies me so. Huangpu Tianyuan clenched his fists and said humbly, The 7 houses have assisted the imperial family for 1,000 years and bring peace to Tianyu. But the 3 houses dared defy your decree, entering the area Your Majesty deigned forbidden and causing the people to lament. I, Regent Estate, the head of the 7 houses, have failed in my duties and deserve to be punished. Crack. The Emperor's fingers let out a sudden sound, as his face only sank lower since the founding of the empire. The 7 houses and the imperial family had been at peace, but the duty of reigning in the 7 houses fell to the imperial family. But for Huangpu Tianyuan to dare utter such responsibility, he did no damn crime. He was overreaching in his power play to gain more status, but over the millennium, the regent estate had been the head of the 7 houses, a truth the emperor could not refute. His only choice was to stew in anger. "Cousin, this is too much of a burden for you. How can I let you take the 3 houses' crime onto yourself?" The emperor stated. "Yeah, estate Lord Huangpu. Regent estate may stand at the top of the 7 houses, and should indeed take responsibility for them. But since Lord wishes to take their crimes onto yourself, you'd be placing yourself in peril. Furthermore, the 3 houses' crime may not be as heavy for you to take it upon yourself." Zhuge Changfeng revealed a wicked grin as he eyed the emperor, widening his eyes. The emperor smiled coldly. "Is the prime minister implying that I am wrong? I wouldn't dream of it. Your Majesty is not wrong in the least. Just that this matter is so minor." Zhuge Changfeng's contempt was clear to all. The emperor was enraged, on the verge of blowing a fuse. Chapter 216 Exploit. Chapter 216 Exploit. "So according to you, Zhuge Changfeng, openly defying an imperial edict is a trifle?" Zhuge Zhantian spoke coldly with a booming voice. "If everyone does it, what would become of the imperial family's dignity?" Brushing away his outburst with a smile and a wave, Zhuge Changfeng shook his head. "Marshal, ease your anger. That is not what I meant at all. Defying the imperial edict has and always will be a serious crime. But in the case where the ruler is rash and tyrannical." "Say that again." Zhuge Zhantian barked. Zhuge Changfeng waved his hand with a dismissing smile. "Ha ha ha, Marshal need not be angry. I wasn't speaking of His Majesty. His Majesty is an upstanding ruler. Even more than that, right?" The emperor's heart shivered. He and Sima Hui, both snorting inside the 3, were putting the squeeze on the 3 house lords just to avoid this particular mess. Only so they could hold one over the regent estate. But now, Zhuge Changfeng had breached this topic and the emperor couldn't stay silent. The emperor gave a curt nod for them to elaborate on the reason behind this mess. The 3 house lords straightened their backs and cupped their hands. "Your Majesty, all that transpired is due to one man, Wingay City's Luo clan steward, Xuefan." Yuan Shan then followed with painting Xuefan in a gruesome way and with flourishing detail. The emperor simply sat there in his throne. He long knew of Xuefan's adventures, so why tell him again? Yet despite knowing, the emperor let Xuefan cause all the trouble he wanted. But now, all he wished was to avoid and bury this topic for good. Once Yuan Shan finished, Huangpu Tianyuan continued. "Your Majesty, this vile spawn defies the 7 houses' dignity. I beseech your Majesty to lift the ban on Wingay City and allow us to exact capital punishment on this wretched beast, to show the nation how upright your Majesty is." This time the emperor was in a real bind. Instead of having the 3 houses turn on regent estate, the latter got to strike against the Luo clan and ruin his plans. Tap, tap. The emperor rapped his fingers on the armrest in deep thought. Due to the havoc the Hell Valley and Veiled Dragon Pavilion had inflicted on the people 3 years ago in Wingay City, I have elected to turn it into a forbidden ground. But I see that overlooking one man has caused endless suffering once again. My heart is in pain. They all knew where he was going with this, sporting large winning grins, and sure enough, the emperor continued with, "I shall not look into your first offense, but you are not to step into Wingay City again. If you want to catch that beast, you will have to wait for him to come out. Your Majesty's heart is with the people. The Empire rejoices in having you." Huangpu Tianyuan's group cupped their hands in heartfelt admiration, but the sneer on their faces was plain to see. This hidden battle between Emperor and Regent Estate ended with the former's complete defeat. Not only did he not seize Regent Estate's weakness, with the 3 houses getting away scot-free, what was worse, he was unable to defend his chess piece, Wingay City, almost throwing it to the wolves. The Emperor's might faded, earning the ridicule of all. "Thank you, Your Majesty." Yuan Shan bowed like the rest and then showed the same respect to Huangpu Tianyuan. "Thank you, Estate Lord Huangpu." The Emperor felt he was choking on something where either choice of swallowing or spitting out was any good. He resolved to just stare at them with all the anger his eyes could muster. Huangpu Tianyuan simply ignored it and half bowed. Your Majesty, we are most grateful for your mercy. We shall take our leave. He didn't care if the Emperor had other intentions, he simply turned around and left. It was a clear disregard of the Emperor's position. And yet the Emperor could only glare with hatred. Hold on! The people turned to see monochrome chess sage stomping over, with fire in his eyes, at High Venerable Huangpu Fenglei. It's been so long, Sir Huangpu. Would you care for a game of chess? Not letting the other respond, Sima Hui directly launched a chess piece at Huangpu Fenglei. A great power suddenly pressed on everyone's shoulders. The House Lords were all peak profound heaven experts, but just this meager chess piece had them all feel as if a mountain was bearing down on them. They couldn't even step back, blood draining from their faces. Divine Dragon Sima Hui's attack was terrifying. Yet Huangpu Fenglei simply stepped before them without fear. He extended 2 fingers and caught the piece as if it was nothing, dispelling the pressure with his gesture. Squinting, Sima Hui didn't expect for Huangpu Fenglei to be so strong as to take his attack so easily. With a grin, Huangpu Fenglei spoke. Mr. Sima's chess skill is exquisite. How could a martial artist such as I compare with a chess sage such as you? I would only disgrace you by playing. Huangpu Fenglei then flicked the chess piece back. A pressure far greater than before came down on Sima Hui and the Emperor. Sima Hui took a rushed step forward to protect the Emperor, and was going to use 2 fingers as well. But the power was too great and forced him to take a step back. Looking aghast at Huangpu Fenglei, Sima Hui said, After not seeing each other for so many decades, Mr. Huangpu's power has greatly increased. I'm afraid I may no longer be your match. You're too kind. Mr. Sima is far more talented than I. Only Mr. Sima indulges in chess while I merely work hard in my training. With a mocking laughter, Huangpu Fenglei gave Huangpu Qingyun's group a look. They all joined his laughter as they left this great symbol of imperial power that was the palace. Sima Hui's brow had faint sweat watching them go. He looked down to see how deep an imprint his foot left when he withdrew. Huangpu Fenglei's power was dreadful. To force a divine dragon to leave such a mark on the floor. Bam! The Emperor shot to his feet and knocked over a candle stand as he cursed. These traitorous mongrels have gone too far. They come to my palace, asking for my obedience? Calm down, Your Majesty, Sima Hui advised. With Zhuge Changfeng here, our reasons are moot in front of a man with his oratory skills. That is why I tried going after Huangpu Fenglei to make them cower. But who'd have thought Huangpu Fenglei's power trumps mine, further diminishing your prestige? It was my miscalculation. Please forgive me, Your Majesty. The Emperor didn't speak, his eyes shining with a dark look. Zhuge Zhantian smoothed his beard and sighed. This plan was to use the 3 houses and strike a blow at Regent Estate's arrogance. Or at least drive a wedge between them. But now, Regent Estate came to their rescue, further making them stand with the Regent Estate. All our hard work was exploited by Regent Estate. Now that the Regent Estate is together with 3 houses, they will be even harder to deal with. Sima Hui nodded, while the Emperor was pacing in deep thought. Then the Emperor's eyes shined. Mr. Sima, isn't the esoteric debate around the corner? Indeed, Your Majesty. It shall take place in 5 years. Sima Hui nodded, then started. Your Majesty, you don't mean? Smiling, the Emperor nodded. Hasn't the Regent Estate flaunted being the head of the 7 houses since he always took first place in the esoteric debate? If he comes short in any way this time, their dignity would take a heavy blow. And the seed of doubt would be planted in the other houses, that its power had declined. But Regent Estates every generation has been filled with geniuses. Especially this one, with even some freaks mixed among them. The other houses have their own fair share of talents, but none can compare. There's even rumors that one among them can break the shackles of Radiant Stage, becoming the peak of power in Tianyu. Just what junior could have such potential? Sima Hui's brow was locked, to which the Emperor snorted. Speaking of freaks, is there any little freak more rampant than that guy? Your Majesty, you mean Zhuefan? Sima Hui and Dugu Zhantian spoke in unison. The emperor nodded with a sneaky smile. It's time for that brat and the Luo clan to pay back for sheltering them. They need to just cut the Regent estate down a peg at the esoteric debate, and I will declare the Luo clan as the 8th noble house to keep Regent estate in line. Sima Hui and Dugu Zhantian were speechless. Xuefan had shocked them again and again, but the Luo clan's foundation was thin. This 8th house would find it hard to stay afloat when it was even weaker than Drifting Flower's edifice, threatened to be swallowed by the other house. Yet the emperor was hoping to use it to counter Regent estate. None of them knew that Xuefan had already made preparation to strengthen the foundation of this flimsy clan. In another place, Zhuge Chongfeng's group left the palace with scorn on their faces. Especially the 3 house lords, who were pushed into a corner by the emperor, were now wild with joy, and just like the emperor, they were in complete awe of the Regent estate and Huangpu Feng Lei. Holy moly, how many are there that can push back a divine dragon? Zhuge Chongfeng, thank you for making all of this happen. Huangpu Tianyuan cupped his hands. Zhuge Chongfeng smiled and spoke in the same cold tone. Ha ha ha, there's no need to thank me. Wasn't it all planned by your steward, Lun Wuchang? Zhuge Chongfeng then left with a smile. The Yin and Yang elders caught up to him, having kept their distance so far. Yu Wanshan didn't quite understand, but Ling Wuchang's face changed, turning to Huangpu Tianyuan. Correct, all was planned by Ling Wuchang, including the 3 house lords' detainment by the emperor. It was all done so he could save the 3 houses at the best moment, and become more reliant on the Regent estate. What was once a scheme privy to only he and Huangpu Tianyuan, it was seen through by Zhuge Chongfeng in an instant. Watching Zhuge Chongfeng's shrinking figure, Lin Wuchang and Huangpu Tianyuan felt an odd chill. No wonder Zhuge Chongfeng was the head of the 4 pillars, he was frightening. Zhuge Chongfeng himself was sporting a mystifying smile. Prime Minister must be glad. The white-haired elder smiled. Zhuge Chongfeng nodded. I just saw a bunch of fools getting happy having scored an empty victory. But ha ha ha. The elders were puzzled. Zhuge Chongfeng was quite vague. But Yuan has ruled these lands for 1,000 years for a reason. To not even see through a chess player's unfathomable skill, he still dares to play with cloak and dagger? So this is the extent of unwanted contriver, ha ha. Chapter 217 The Suicidal Life and Death Art. Chapter 217 The Suicidal Life and Death Art. 4 figures fell on Blackwind Mountain. Xuefan and his 3 elders Qiu Yanhai and Shui Qingjian watched in awe the impressive sight formed by the mighty 4 5th-grade arrays. Luo clan is outstanding to this extent that it's no wonder its steward is so cunning and able. But how come we never heard of it? The 2 looked at each other puzzled. Xuefan knew all too well what dwelled on their mind, but didn't dispel their doubts, only made a path through the arrays with a sign. He took the lead and the others rushed to follow. Once back in the clan, Xuefan called for a general meeting to introduce their newest elders. The 2 elders were presented with the sight of people no stronger than ants. Knowing they could kill these people with their thumb, it instilled a deep sense of disappointment in the old couple. Though after having received Xuefan's cruelty, it curbed their characters so as to not let it show. Only when Xuefan introduced Luo Yunchan did their eyes shine. Recalling Li Jingtian's words, they showed utmost respect for Luo Yunchan. Shui Qingjian even held her shoulder. Young miss, you are the picture of beauty, like an angel from above. I can't help but rue the day a rotten punk would have you for himself, oh ho ho ho. Luo Yunchan blushed and shook her head, but her heart was grateful as she sneaked a peek at Xuefan. She also found the 2 elders quite likable. They were radiant stage experts, yet so calm and mild. Unlike the arrogant stereotype everyone knew, though clueless, this was all brought about by Xuefan's thorough and unyielding discipline. The man in question was right now frowning. Why are these 2 who always snap back with how great they are in Tianyu suddenly fawning? And why at Luo Yuchang? Turning to Li Jingtian, he caught the latter looking elsewhere entirely. This has nothing to do with me. Now that introductions are out of the way, the others may return to their tasks. Xuefan's clap left only Luo Yunchan and the 4 elders behind. He turned to the couple. You 2 will be watching over the Black Flame array in the south and the Ice Shadows array in the north. I will later tell you how to wield them. Working alongside Elder Yan and Elder Li's arrays, the Luo clan will never know defeat. Understood. Qiu Yinhai and Shui Qingjian cupped their hands. Luo Yunchang was overjoyed knowing the 4 experts would turn the mountain into an impenetrable fortress. Not even a 7 houses siege could make her worry now, also. Shui Fan's hand flashed and offered a jade slip. As you are now Luo clan's elders, I shall treat you as one of us. Here is the secret life and death art. I find it quite suitable to you too. Qiu Yinhai took the jade slip, amazed by what it contained. Knowing what they were gonna say, Shui Fan smiled. This is no cultivation method or martial art, but a way to combine your strengths. A limitless improving method. What? Brushing off their shock, Shui Fan continued. This life and death art means treading the fine line between life and death on the edge of a knife. At the collision between 2 opposing forces, world-destroying power lies. But once control over it slips, death becomes you. This leads to this art going by a more common name, the Suicidal secret art. What are you doing giving it to them for? That's too dangerous. Luo Yunchang spoke in their defense. The couple was almost moved to tears. Li Jingtian didn't lie. Getting close to the young miss is a must if we want to live. But Shui Fan shook his head. Young miss needn't fret. If others trained in this art, they'd have a fate worse than death. But I saw how the 2 elders' fire and water arts combine, how seamless they work together. They are able to conform to the other on the fly, understanding each other's hearts. In fact, they may understand the other even better than they do themselves. The 2's attributes may be in conflict, but they are nevertheless able to control the clashing force between fire and water. There's a 50% chance they'll succeed. 50? The couple was nervous, and Luo Yuchang jumped in fright. That's too little. Shui Fan shook his head. Nothing ventured, nothing gained. The greater the danger, the bigger the return. I'm sure you 2 know this fully well. After all, you fought Tianyu's experts off decades ago. I can also guarantee, this method has infinite growth. The greater your control, the more powerful you become. You can one day reach the point when you can face all 5 divine dragons together. Widened eyes and gasps of shock were heard all around. Imperial family's divine dragons were the strongest in Tianyu. Not even if their cultivation matched could they defeat one, least of all 5. These were not false promises. As Shui Fan never was one for empty talk. Li Jingtian snapped his excited eyes on the jade slip, his martial fanatic side rearing its head. What if, suppose I train it? Elderly, this was given to us by Steward Shui. So don't go against his decision. Qiu Yinhai guarded the jade slip, watching Li Jingtian as if he was an archenemy to the couple. The 2 loved each other, but having been in the martial world for so long, the promise of power could hardly be denied. Hearing the return of the life and death art being so gargantuan, they'd take it even if it was just a 3rd chance of success. How could they have ever reached the 5th layer of radiant stage if they didn't have this bit of boldness? Though Li Jingtian's eyes never faltered from the jade slip, Shui Fan dismissed his fervent greed. Elderly, it's not for you. I'll be blunt. Train it, and die. What nonsense is that? With my talent, my aptitude, my power, I am better than them in everything. Li Jingtian rebuked. Shui Fan shrugged and turned to the 2. The couple was now eagerly combing through the information in the jade slip. 15 minutes later, they looked dumbfounded, sporting an extra red face. Li Jingtian was startled and impatient. Well, spit it out. Is the art so intricate not even you 2 can unravel? Give it here, let this old man have a look. Beat it. It won't do you any good even if you do look. Shui Qingjian glared at him. Qiu Yinhai lowered his head in embarrassment. He, Steward Shui, just where did you pick a dual cultivation art? You're putting us on the spot. Dual cultivation art? Li Jingtian's eyes bugged out as he stammered. Shui Fan cracked up. Ha, life and death art needs 2 people that are closer to each other than their relatives yet of opposite cultivation methods. Only this can bring out its power. If your feelings are true, they will be conveyed and fruit will blossom. If all you have is lust, death follows. Elderly, you and me are lone wolves, it doesn't suit us. Li Jingtian only smirked. The couple felt quite shy at this point, then blushed harder as they looked at each other. Steward Zhua, we also can't cultivate it. Xiao Yehai twiddled his thumbs. Me and Qin Jian never actually done that. Raising an eyebrow, Shuafan asked. You've never done it for decades yet are so in tune with each other? Then what are you waiting for? Luo Yunchang clapped. It's been ages since we had a wedding in the Luo clan. Please let me arrange it all for the elders on a most auspicious day. The couple's faces went redder, acting like shy teenagers. Shuafan's eyes widened and shouted. What auspicious, what arrangement? That's so quaint and cliché. Just get it on already and train that art. Blast it, for decades you've been around a bell, yet never tapped that fine booty. Shame on you. She even dolled up for decades for you in vain. So get your ass in gear already. Bam! Shuafan kicked Xiao Yanhai's ass, but the old geezer wasn't the least bit angry. He took Shui Qingjian's hand and left giggling. Qingjian, it's Steward Zhua's order. I don't have a choice. For the sake of the clan, we must bear through this hardship. Ha ha ha, pervert. Shui Qingjian rolled her eyes, yet left with her blushing head lowered. Luo Yunchan watched the loving couple in envy. She turned to Shuafan with a pout. You say that, but you are no different. Shuafan looked at her. Obliviously Jingtian laughed. Steward Zhua, you shouldn't waste. Shuafan's eyes snapped to him before he finished, scaring him from continuing. So you do understand. Young miss, I did my best to help you up to here. Li Jingtian started looking elsewhere all of a sudden. Yen Song started flattering Shuafan. Steward Zhua, please give me an art too. Didn't I give you refining skills? Shuafan asked. Yen Song scratched his head. Ha ha ha, now that you mention it. But I'm a cultivator first, before an alchemist, one with dreams of greatness. Fine, fine, I understand perfectly. Shuafan offered a jade slip. I am not too fond of poisons, but since you're with me, I will be sure to give you what you deserve. This here is a high profound ranked martial art, 9/9's fantasy palm. It also contains the formula for making the world's 81 strangest poisons. Beside the myriad of palm attacks, it also wields 81 poisons, each with 81 variations. Each change conforms to any man, to any environment, ever evolving. In short, the poison's only cure is if you remove it yourself. It is thus named, Lord over life and death. Take it and go! Yen Song took the jade slip with trembling hands and fervent gaze. This is leagues above the rainbow cloud palm. It's incomparable. He, Steward Zhua, you are so amazing and grand. I knew I made the right choice following you. Cut the flattery, just make sure to give your all in your tasks. Shuafan waved him off. Li Jingtian stroked his chin. What is up with today? Steward Zhua is handing treasures left and right. Forget the odd couple, he's even given Yen Song something after just one word of pleading. Should I also get my game on and act as cute as possible to squeeze Steward Zhua of some goodies? But he shook his head in the end. He knew very well when to stop. It was better to do it after he trained Wraith Art to peak first. But then, a sudden shout came from outside Blackwind Mountain. Brother, I came to visit! Shuafan raised an eyebrow and shook his head after knowing who it was. Chapter 218 Acting Bestowed Elder. Chapter 218 Acting Bestowed Elder. Shuafan ended the meeting with a shake of his hand, sending the elders into obscurity. He had no intention of showing the world Luo clan's experts. He turned to Luo Yunchan with a smile. Young miss, I would like you to kindly welcome our honored guest. Luo Yunchan had no idea who dropped by, but since Shuafan wished her to go, she would gladly do it. And of course, since she was a young miss, she had a role to play. Her dainty hand raised, Luo Yunchan softly spoke. Steward Zhua, please help me to our guest. He rolled his eyes. She's no disabled 70-year-old hag, what help? Nevertheless, towards this silly request, Shuafan didn't flare out, as to not receive this pampered miss tongue lashing. So he took her outstretched arm. It would never ever cross the past Shuafan's mind to do such a thing. But now, Shuafan found the rough edges of his character had smoothed over somewhat. particularly in the case of young Miss, where he caved quite easily. God damn it! How can I still be a demonic emperor? Xuefan cursed but wasn't that angry, quite happy in fact. As if enjoying the moment, Luo Yunchang stole a glance at the forced Xuefan and giggled a sweet laughter. The two thus descended, past the arrays and off the mountain. What greeted them was another mountain, more aptly put, a mountain of a man. Luo Yunchang and Xuefan's eyes widened not from being impressed by the newcomer's imposing manner, but from recognition. In fact, he was Xuefan's brother who he liked a lot. They were speechless because, how can any human get so fat? Yes, siree, the man before them was the third prince of the empire, his sworn brother, Yuan Kang. The man looked like a veritable wall blocking the view of the two, hoisted on two thick and trembling legs. Today was sunny and warm, but Yuan Song's head was soaked in sweat, and kept on sweating buckets. Brother, you finally came! I almost couldn't take it. Yuan Song gasped, wiping his head again and again with a handkerchief, only to be dripping wet the next second. The servant rushed to replace it. On his right was another familiar face to Xuefan, Jade Flute Divine Sword, Fang Qiubai. Having long given up on this bloke of a disciple, Fang Qiubai was watching the 4 5th-grade arrays in shock and awe. The two were leading 20 yellow-dressed elders. Their chests stuck out, their manners filled with power. They looked like no servants of the third prince, more like guards. Xuefan found his face twitching seeing the sweat-soaked Yuan Song and sighed. Oh please. It's your fault for running all the way here, fatty. Can you blame me? I wouldn't have gone all out if it weren't for Imperial Father's edict. The fatty sighed and started fanning himself with his hand. Hurry and take me up the mountain. It's too hot here. Right then, around 10 people came around him to lift him up after a strenuous effort, taking one toiling step after another, and each step left behind a deep mark. These servants weren't experts, just in the qi condensation stage. But seeing how even they were having the worst time of their lives carrying the fatty, Xuefan muttered, Fatty, you're goddamn fatter! Don't say it! Imperial Father is in a bad mood. Every time that happens, he takes it out on me and leaves me suffering. I was too stressed to even eat or drink, yet the next thing I know I'm up to 400 kilograms in weight. Oh, the horror! He sighed each time he slapped his belly. This act of his made the men below him stagger. Their bent backs were creaking. Luo Yunchang couldn't bear to look a second more. Xuefan was speechless. You don't eat from stress yet still gain so much weight? How damn fat will you be then if you're in a perky mood? How much will you eat? You're a true marvel! Xuefan shook his head and sighed. The fatty snickered. Thank you, but you're just the same. We brothers are the marvels of the world. Xuefan's mood sank. Are you showing off or making yourself look goddamn better than me? So Xuefan switched targets to Fang Qiubai. Mr. Fang, it's been a long time. Do you perhaps not care what becomes of this fatty? Not in the least. With a lazy wave, Fang Qiubai smiled. A noble man has noble qualities. Xuefan rolled his eyes. I was wondering what made this fatty so feisty without caring about consequences. It's all because his master encourages it. Truly, if the base is crooked, the top is out of whack. By the way, Xuefan, you've been stirring quite the storm lately, throwing the whole Tianyu in chaos. Fang Qiubai eyed him. But that's understandable. You can't survive without going out of line. There may have not been a Luo clan today if it weren't for you monkeying around. Raising an eyebrow, Xuefan took a long look at him, feeling his words held another meaning, but instead of continuing, he laughed. Let's talk it out inside. Then he started flying up Blackwind Mountain. Finding the fatty way too slow, Fang Qiubai lifted him along with a wave. The servants found themselves lighter and fell on the ground in bliss. They cursed, carrying that damn tub of lard will get us killed. As for the elders in yellow, they followed as well. Xuefan and Luo Yunchang took the weary servants too. The servants finally had the leisure to not mind the wait at the peak of Blackwind Mountain. The fatty was working his damnedest in wiping the sweat off himself under a pavilion. Fang Qiubai was at the side, with poise and grace. Seeing Xuefan coming up with the servants, the fatty beckoned. Hurry up and fan me! The servants shook their heads and started working hard at the fatty's side. Now the fatty was finally feeling like himself. Letting the occasional cry of appreciation, Juefan shook his head. This fatty wasn't like this 3 years ago. Why is he so sleazy all of a sudden? What had him truly baffled, however, why aren't the old guys joining in with the servants? Juefan pointed. Fatty, aren't they yours as well? Why are they standing around idle? How could they be? Do you know what their cultivation is? The fatty eyes widened. Juefan blinked. Profound heaven. Yes, profound heaven experts. How could I have them do such a thing? It would be too humiliating for them. The fatty spoke upright. Juefan thought so as well. He recalls how he would often insult the radiant stage experts when he beckons them but never asked them to pour tea for him. It was simply overkill. He found no point in respecting anyone whose talents were of no use. Am I not one to respect talents and make use of their abilities fully? Ha ha ha, probably not. Since he always saw others with a cynical eye and never showed any respect. Anyways, who in the mortal domain was worthy of the demonic emperor's respect? Juefan shook his head. With different statuses there are different attitudes. Just then, Fatty struggled to walk to him and smiled. Brother, to be honest, these profound heaven experts aren't mine, but yours. Mine? No, that's not right either. You're just Luo clan's steward. How can they be yours? I mean to say that they are elders whom my imperial father offered to the Luo clan. Your clan just got a gift falling into your lap and its rise is just around the corner. Well, are you happy? He. The fatty laughed at Juefan's dumbstruck face. Luo Yunchang's eyes shined in glee. They will all be Luo clans. Before she could properly enjoy this gift of 20 profound heaven elders, Juefan spoke dully. Fatty, even if the Emperor bestows us these profound heaven elders, we will first have to see if they are fit for the Luo clan. The fatty was totally clueless what he was getting at. Luo clan, a third-rate clan, had a sudden windfall of 20 profound heaven experts, and they should be wild with joy. Even a first-rate clan would be dancing around and thank the Emperor by now, so why was this Juefan so cold, even trying to reject them? If he only knew Juefan had 3 radiant stage experts in the bag, he'd probably take the 20 elders back that instant. Damn, how mortifying. We have radiant stage experts, so of course we'd outright refuse some profound heaven experts. Not to mention they are. Fan Chiobai eyed Juefan with a deep gaze. Juefan walked before the elders and sized them up. He found they were quite strong, but nothing outstanding, while also detecting a great deal of pride, the kind that hinted at, if I am second, no one dares say they're first. Juefan frowned. What's there to be cocky about when you're not even in the radiant stage? Pacing around, he spoke. As of now, you are Luo clan's elders. I am the steward, Juefan. You are to listen to every one of my instructions, besides young miss. Humph, a puny steward minds me? Luo clan sure is an oddity. One of them complained before Juefan finished. Juefan's face went cold in a flash. Luo Yunchang shrugged and turned her head, not in the least interested in their fates. There was no cocky elder in the Luo clan, not one. That was because this place housed an even more outrageously conceited steward. You could offend anyone in the Luo clan, but may God help you if you stepped on the steward's toes. Humph, your funeral. You're on your own now. Juefan's power goes unchallenged here. They were oblivious to this iron rule, but they'd do it anyway even if they knew, since they came by the grand order of the Emperor. Though, they were most certainly gambling with their lives at this point.